In this episode, we're joined by Ben Hodgson, an avid all-round angler and content creator on YouTube. Check out his channel at UK Fish Slayer. Ben is fun to chat to, but dangerous with a knife. Hit the like button, leave a comment, and remember to subscribe to the podcast. Let's dive in.
Welcome to another Tuna Gear podcast. I'm Andy. Danny's in the hot seat next to me. Today we have Ben, the UK Fish Slayer, on.
That's right.
Mate, thank you for coming up.
Thank you for inviting me on.
Thank you for the chocolates as well.
Well,
you probably can't see half of them, but by the end of it, my belly's going to be even bigger. But
you can never go wrong with chocolate.
You can never go wrong with
booze. But I thought we'll keep it a little bit.
As you'll see from Mick Ward's podcast, booze was definitely not the best one to start with.
I'm still suffering from booze from Saturday night at the minute.
I thought you looked a little bit blurry-eyed.
Yes, it's been a long weekend.
Fishing in beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate. Thank you for coming up. Reached out to you because I've been watching your stuff online. Really enjoy it. You come across as somebody who just absolutely loves fishing.
True, very true. Yeah, I mean, firstly, thanks very much for having me on here. I feel totally humbled to be here. So thank you. And it's a beautiful setup. Unbelievable what you've got going on.
Thank you, mate.
No, it is. It's lovely. Also, as we were talking off camera, I've started getting into your podcast and actually really enjoying them. I'm not a podcast type of guy.
You said that, didn't you?
Honestly, truthfully, I've watched a couple of them like in one go. They're quite long, but I've sat there and watched the whole 2 hours of it and thought, fucking hell, actually, sorry.
Crack on.
I thought, blimey, they really are pretty decent, and actually,
I'll take that all day long.
Yeah,
There's a pound of back, Aaron. We'll take that.
Honestly. So yeah, it's lovely to have in our sport every different angle going. Why not? And of course, when we're interested in something, you're going to find your YouTube videos to watch when you're not out fishing yourself. What do I do when I'm not fishing? I'm thinking about fishing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're watching it, you're listening to it. And the way that podcasts are going now, they're just taking over the world completely. Yeah. And we wanted to put something together where it's like walking into the tackle shop and just chatting fishing, but you haven't got to worry about the next customer behind you wanting to get to the till. Exactly. You can just talk and talk and talk. It can be 10 minutes, it can be 5 hours. I mean, Dave Lewis, we clocked up the 3 hour mark with him,
and we didn't even scratch the surface.
No. Well, I mean, the thing is, I think what's apparent and funny also in watching the podcast is that most fishermen have got a very similar sort of story to tell, but different angles on that same story. Yeah. And of course, wherever you're coming from in the world of fishing, whether you're to do with tackle, whether you're doing charter skippering, whether you're like me, just a sort of, let's say a pleasure angler stroke YouTuber.
Yeah, bait, you're doing the bait, it's
just different rigs. Angles on the same end result, really. We're all interested in fish, aren't we?
We said that. I mean, it doesn't matter whether industry-based or, like I say, weekend warrior, where you bait fish, you lure fish. We're ultimately fishermen.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're a real fisherman, you find most of it enjoyable, even if it's totally opposite end of what you do.
Yeah, even if it's carp fishing or fly fishing or jug fishing or boat fishing or off the rocks or whatever it is. Most anglers are into one pursuit. There's a lot of lads who just boat fish, lure fish.
I think that for me and my background is where I'm pretty different to that. I'm a little bit, I'm not going to use the term so strict all-rounder, but I am a bit of an all-rounder. I love my sea fishing primarily, first and foremost, and actually the YouTube channel is all about sea fishing. I won't put sort of freshwater fishing on there, but my whole background through my life has been a wee bit of fun. And I'm not a great fly angler, but I've been there and trout reservoirs. I've been out, done saltwater fly fishing. I've had bonefish and whatnot on the fly. Again, I know you like somebody like you would be probably looking at my technique thinking, call himself a fly angler. But
you've got to go out and do it.
Yeah, well,
it's going out and doing the do, isn't it?
Definitely.
It's not,
I guess that leads...
Technique comes with time. Going out and just, you've got to start. You've got to go and do it.
Definitely. And one thing I would definitely draw on to that is when you talk about technique, in my experience with fishing, it's about, at the end of the day, catching fish. Now, I've said it on a couple of my YouTube videos also, but I've had a couple of people sort of message me up and go, oh, look, I'm doing a bit of slow jigging. Now, I've only been doing it for about a year. I'm not an expert at all, but I'm catching fish. I'm catching plenty of fish on slow jigs, you know? And I've had people saying, oh, your technique, anyone could just jiggle the rod up and down. I mean, they're being harsh. I know when you do get that online, obviously you have to take
Keyboard
that.
warriors.
Well, absolutely. But actually, I mean, the guy's commenting on a post that I did 12 drifts on a wreck, had 12 hits, had to leave the wreck because I'd filled my bucket up with pollock and had a nice cod as well. And I just feel like saying, well, yeah, my technique might not be that strong, my friend, and it might not be out of a textbook, but who gives a shit?
Yeah,
the fish will tell you what they want.
Do you respond to those comments?
I do sometimes.
Do you find yourself getting drawn into it?
I'll be honest, I responded to that one. I respond to every positive comment I respond to. And if I ever got to the stage where I've blanked somebody, because that's one thing that I've found is that I've had lots of even private messages on Messenger. Oh, mate, I hope you don't mind me messaging. I'm really appreciating what you're doing, this and that. And I actually feel overwhelmed by it. And I would never, I'm a really humble type of guy. I would never blank somebody, particularly if they've gone out of their way to be positive and, you know, if I ever do that and you guys ever get me on here, slap me around the face and call me a CUNT, you know, because I'm not that type of guy, you know. On the flip side, negative comments, I won't get drawn into a battle with people. I do respond to them. You know, that guy, this comment in particular, I mean, he started off mentioning about my technique and what I could do different. And I was actually, I'm all for constructive criticism.
Yeah.
So I was actually reading it with eyes wide open, thinking, yeah, fair enough, fair comment. I can work on my game. Everybody can. And then he started diving into my tackle, saying, and also, you know, I've got a pen squall reel with a level one. I've actually got a Savage Gear left-handed wind slow pitch jig reel also. But I've opted for a smaller pen squall reel, which got like this little top disengaged thumb.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy when you're over the wrecks, you're losing gear. You don't want to be losing a tenner of adrift, you know, with your jigs. You can literally be on tap, drip, click, you know, whereas
I'm the same as you. I'm exactly the same as you. I like a level wind.
Yeah. Well, he wouldn't like you.
I don't care.
Because he said, oh, level...
I don't like him already, and I don't even know who he is.
No, neither do I. So, and that's it. You know, and he's like, oh, and by the way, there's no place for level winds in this game. And I'm just like...
Says who?
Yeah. So I started writing back, and I just said, you know what, you sound like a fucking snob. A fishing snob, and that's what I call them. Fishing snobs. I really dislike them. You know, who are you... And they're the sort of people that keep kids out of fishing and keep newbies. Yeah. I know a few tackle shop owners. I'm very good friends with Southwest Sea Baits. They know the market. You're a part of a tackle shop. Yeah. Fishing in general has been on the decline over the years. We need to...
Yeah, 100%.
We need to raise it, you know, the profile. And what we don't need is somebody saying, oh, you shouldn't use that reel. Oh, you know, you caught fish, but you're shit, you know?
Yeah,
people
I
don't need that, you know?
Yeah.
I went out fishing with Matt Forrester recently, and I had a real eye-opener into this whole slow pitch jigging thing. I turned up with what I thought was a decent slow pitch jigging rod and reel. He took one look at it and went, oh, your braid's too thick. And I was like, and no clip on, don't have a clip on the end. And I'm like, I was a little bit like, yeah, what difference does that make? Drop down on this drift. Matt's got this like uber thin braid tied straight onto the top of the jig, well, down onto the leader, onto the jig. His was just sitting underneath. Mine's just starting to kite away. He's like, that's the fatter braid. But he's really good about how he comes across with it. So he set me up on one of his rods, which was right hand reel. Oh my God, by the end of the day, I couldn't move my arm. I like left hand.
Yeah. So it's the opposite.
But he is, if you want to, like when you watch his slow pitch jigging stuff, the way he's got this technique of doing things, and he can do, when he's doing that, I can't lift and flick the rod and turn the handle at the same time. Yeah. It's like drumming. My brain just physically cannot do two things, move the hands at the same time. I'm not doing this, trying to... But it's just practice with these things. You've got to go out and do it.
To be honest, I've watched his videos also, and I've actually
They're really good videos.
He's very passionate about his slow pitch jigging. I've used... in a couple of my videos, his jigs as well, and
Joker jigs.
Yeah, the Joker jigs, the Slammer. In fact, that particular video was filmed with the slammer jig, and it's. I mean, in terms of slow pitch jigging, just to completely digress, it's a lovely way of fishing. You know,
I really enjoy it.
Excellent.
I think it's a lot better than like just a triple, a three-way swivel, a lead on the bottom, and an 8-foot trace. Drop it down, wind up 20. Drop it down, wind up 20.
We don't sell any of it at work. We sell the jigs occasionally, but the amount of people that come in and ask for slow pitch gear, rods, reels, lines, it's every week. I mean,
the boys down in Newlyn, Wild Seas.
Yeah, so I mean, Southwest Sea Baits, having sort of over the last year or so, I've been doing a fair bit of slow pitch jigging, and I've been sort of talking to them, and they've been sort of slowly building up their slow pitch stuff, you know, but not just based off of me, but what they're getting asked from their
it's everywhere now.
It's a deadly method.
It not only is it a deadly method, what's lovely about it, and so I mean, I liken what you're talking about, sort of the sidewinder method.
Yeah.
You know, I use a boom.
Rigs,
it's dropping it down, winding it up. It's almost like trout fishing, where you're sort of waiting for the pluck, and it's beautiful like that when you're winding in. You know, when you're winding up your sidewinder and you're feeling the plucks, and you know something's chasing it. That definitely has its draw, but with slow pitch jigging, you're almost setting the hook on them. You know, so you're sort of fluttering, and then quite often they're going to take it on the drop, because the way the jigs work, this is in my mind's eye, I'm sure that the fish see the jig just fluttering through the water, and they see it like a stunned bait fish, you know, and it puts them into attack mode. As they attack it, you're on the flutter down, and then you've got a slack line, and you know you've got a fish, and you're sort of setting the hook on them. You don't do that, obviously.
Love watching a line. Love watching a braid just stop dead. Yeah. And you think, well, that's not the bottom.
No, and then that's set as well. So you almost got the mixture of sort of bait fishing, setting a hook, where you're feeling a bite or you're seeing a bite.
It's very much so the evolution of fishing. I mean, you go back and not shit talking on Sidewinder, they're phenomenal lures, and I've caught millions of fish over the years. But the evolution of the Portland rig and a red gill or something like that, or a Sidewinder and a weight.
Yeah.
To going down now with super fine 8-strand, 12-strand braids and modern rods, little reels.
Yeah.
You don't need these fucking great big clunky rods reels now. Tiny little palm-sized reels. Yeah. The evolution of what tackle has been able to let us achieve in fishing now is awesome, and I love that.
And you're in contact all the time. It's like you know, you lure on the bottom and you're in contact with a fish. And I mean, for fish, real predatory fish like your bass, I've found that slow jigs are out fishing sidewinders big time. For me, I find that it really gets them attacking. You know, that fluttering motion. There's something in it that they just sort of hang on a minute.
Of course,
I'm taking that. You know, so it's lovely method of fishing. And
I'd still have a level wind reel though.
Oh, I have a level wind reel.
Get a little left-hand side tranks, you'll love it.
Yeah. Just I like it because otherwise I end up with like a bulk of line on one side. I'm turning. Dave Mordecai showed me. He's like, I move the rod left and right as it's coming up to get the line to move across. I'm not quite there at that stage.
But whose place is it to tell you that that's the wrong or right reel? If you're catching fish and you're enjoying it, then it's the right setup for you, isn't it?
100%.
Most definitely.
Well, as we mentioned about evolution then, I mean, you have a very funny Plymouth accent, we must say. So let's talk about the evolution of you. How did this end up? I mean, you now live in Plymouth. You're obviously not from Plymouth. So how did this whole journey of the YouTube? Let's start from how did this all start?
Okay, so my background in angling is very similar to lots of anglers. I started off when I was a small kid. I'm from Essex originally, and born and raised in Essex in the southeast of England. When I was a kid growing up, I had two uncles who were very influential in my fishing. One of them was mad keen on sea fishing. The other was mad keen on freshwater fishing. So we were literally in the process of
his SD card.
Sorry,
keep going. Sorry,
we were literally between freshwater fishing and saltwater fishing constantly, and it was almost like part of life. You know, fishing was life really. I've got that's not quite freshwater fishing, but I've got a brother who is my long-time fishing partner.
That's an amazing set of eyebrows, isn't it?
That's a family trait. That's a family trait. I can thank me dad for that.
Beauties.
Oh yes, a couple of caterpillars.
So how
there.
old are you here?
I would say probably about 17 years old there.
I had my biggest chub ever on bait in the week. I don't feel I normally lure fish for them, but I've been doing a bit of feeder fishing.
I did a bit of stalking and I saw a picture, but I didn't see a weight on it. What did it go?
I didn't have the scales, so it's certainly the biggest I've ever had.
Okay.
It was
it was a decent fish.
Is that France?
That's in France, yeah. I've taken here some random pictures here just because my story is very random in terms of the fishing that I've done and the stories that I have to tell, really. So going back to when I was a kid, my brother was a massive influence on me, and he was my partner in crime. We were little shits, really, to be honest. And my brother's slightly older than me. He's 4 years older. By the time I was like 15, I mean, just as an example, I went to school one day, and I'm sitting in class, I've done the register, first class of the day, and the office lady comes through the door, speaks to the teacher, and the teacher looks up at me and says, Ben, you're late for your dentist appointment, you need to go. And I'm like, okay. So I follow the office lady to the office, and who's there? My brother. He signed me out.
He sounds like a legend.
He's a legend. So, I mean, actually, I think I probably even called him a genius or a legend at the time. So I'm looking at him, and he's looking at me, and I'm thinking, I know, and he knows what's going on. So he at that time, he had just passed his driving licence. He must have been 17 or thereabouts. He had this red Escort, and he's like, come on, Ben, we need to go. We're going to your dentist appointment. He said, I'm like, okay then. So we walk out, get to the car, and I'll give you a prize for guessing what was in the car. Fishing gear. I'm like, fucking, you are a genius. What an idea that was, you know. And so literally, we spent the rest of the day. We went to that on that particular day, and there was probably a few more like that. But on that day, we went to Slough House, which was a carp fishery nearby. And I think in them days, the method feeder was just coming around. I think it was actually. The method feeder actually came originally from that lake where we fished Slough House. So there was a angling club, Hornchurch Angling. Dave was the one who first initially sort of come out with it. They used to fish feeders with just like an elastic band in there to sort of prang it back into it, and then it sort of evolved and developed from there. And
Cool.
the original method feeder used to have like elastic, sort of almost like to pop it back in. But yeah, we spent the rest of the day there, full school uniform, and doing a bit of carp fishing on the method feeder. You know,
amazing.
Get home with hands covered in ground bait and that. Honest, Mum, I was at school. You know. But yeah, I mean that's where it started. So back in them days, I was probably doing 70 or 80% freshwater fishing, but all types of freshwater fishing. I mean, back in them days, and I think it's a bit of a golden era, there was lots of influence on the television. You know, there was like Matt Hayes, you know, John Wilson's, and they was all on Discovery.
Screaming Reels.
Yeah, I mean, that was slightly before, but yeah, Screaming Reels, Passion for Angling, what a series.
Yeah,
you know, absolutely mesmerising. And I was really engrossed in all of that, you know, growing up. Particularly Matt Hayes, I used to love...
His road trip.
Oh, I used to love not his road trip, but Total Fishing, where he used to go to Cuba.
The original Total Fishing show was the bit of humour in it.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, he was fishing places as well, the exotic places, like he was in like the mangroves in Cuba, catching jacks off a little boat and that, and I'm just like, oh, that is like heaven. Fortunately, through my life, I've managed to actually do a little bit of that as well, which is just, and it's almost like not trying to copy him, but you know, you get that sort of idea of perfection or idea of your ideal.
We're just in the process. I've known Matt for a number of years through Costa del Mar Glasses, so I've actually spoke to Matt. We are in the very early processes, but there may be a chance we may get him on here.
Yeah.
So he's
for me, he's a legend.
Yeah,
for me, he's an absolute legend. And going back to chub fishing, what we just saw, he was the one initially sowing the seed for me. Yeah. Fishing the Riveroos, that's what he used to do on Total on Total Fishing. Riveroos, you know, big fat juicy lobworm, and that was me. You know, I was like, I've got to do some of that, and hence why I really, from being much more involved just with carp fishing to then start thinking about river fishing, looking at tropical sea fishing. I was always partly into sea fishing as it was anyway, due to my other uncle sort of beach casting on the east coast of England and whatnot. So I got to a stage by then where I just left school and I was in work. I left school with no qualifications. I was a little shit, but my dad ran a business and it was always quite a prosperous business, and I just went straight into that. I was always destined to, went straight into that business, did an apprenticeship, and then at sort of the age of 17, I've only got my prick to keep, and I'm working, living with mum, so I've paid a little bit of rent, I've got surplus money for fishing tackle, I've got time on my hands to go fishing. All I'm doing is spending money on fishing tackle or going out, getting out of my face and chasing after women.
Amen to that.
Yeah, it sounds like an amazing life.
I feel totally fulfilled with it, actually. I don't regret a thing, and all these funny stories like getting taken out of school that day and that, I wouldn't change it for the world, No. I know I wouldn't preach it to my kids.
Of course,
but it's one of those things,
Character building.
Definitely, and I've become a member of a carp syndicate at the time when I was about 17, and I was spending days and days on the bank there. Just literally work, fishing, go out, try to get jiggy, work, fishing, And then, a funny story on the syndicate. So, one day, a bit of an eye-opener and a shocking story, really. We were fishing, I was with my friend, his name's Chris Edwards, and we used to call him Ted because of Edwards. But we were doing a couple of nights over there, and it just got to probably about 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and there was sort of two swims right next to each other, and I had a double two-man bivvy, so we used to sort of put each of our bed chairs in the bivvy and just fish from one bivvy and run to our rods if we get runs in the night. And it's just dark, we just sort of sit down in the bivvy and settle down for the night. I'm just drifting away, and I heard a little bit of a rustling from outside the tent, and like a murmur, somebody out there. So I think, who's that? So I poke my head out the tent, and there's a guy literally just sitting next to our tent, wandered up on us in the night, clearly pissed out of his head. So I was like, as you can imagine, I was like 17 years old, my mate as well, and we're like, what are you doing here, mate? This is a private place, you shouldn't really be here. And he's completely drunk, so he's sitting there, wants to just drag his heels a bit, as drunk people, like drunkards do. Oh, I'm all right, you leave me. But I said, look, mate, you can hang around for 5 or 10 minutes, but then you've got to go. We're here, we're fishing, this is a private place here, and, really you shouldn't be here anyway. So he overstays his welcome 10, 15 minutes later, and then we start getting a little bit like, look, mate, you need to get moving now, please. You've come up on us in the night time, do one. So this guy starts to get a little bit like all good drunks do, starts to get a little bit loud. I don't give a fuck, you're fishing, well, I'll do this, I'll sit where I want. I've got a little bit of a short fuse, so I'm just like saying to him, look, mate, right, you need to go now. He's like, yeah, well, what are you going to do about it? So I just said, look, I'll just walk you to the end of the lane, mate, you need to go. So he's on that, the guy sort of stood up and sort of half come to me, and I'm like, adrenaline's going, so I literally sort of instant reaction, I sort of grabbed hold of him and turned him round facing up the bank, and I sort of grabbed him by the back of his trousers and the scruff of his neck, and I start marching him like you would a kid, and he's pissed and up the bank, and I'm just like, look, mate, just fuck it off, just leave us, will ya? And then he starts getting a bit shirty and like wriggling, and obviously with adrenaline going as it was, I sort of pushed him to sort of shunt him off up the bank. And this guy, honestly, I kid you not, he just, without any movement, he just went face down, bang, on his face on the floor, out cold. Yeah. Honestly, I'm just like, and he did not move. And I'm just like, my mate's there coming out, he's like, fucking hell. We thought the bloke was dead, seriously. And we're like, shit, what do we do? I mean, and you hear these funny stories about people getting done for manslaughter.
One-hit wonders.
Unbelievable. I didn't hit the guy, we didn't fight, I literally just pushed him up the bank, and he didn't even protect himself. He just went wallop, face down, knocked out. So my mate's like this sort of person. He's like, don't worry, leave with me. Went and got our water butt. Fucking poured the water butt on this guy's head. So the guy then comes round. He's like, oh, what's gone on? What's happened? Me. So I'm like, mate, you're drunk. You've had a stumble. You've bumped your head there, mate. You need to get home. He's like, yeah, cheers, guys, cheers, I'll do it, I'm off like that. We were like, then that's him, sort of walking up the lane like that, staggering and swerving all over the place. We just looked at each other, we were like, fucking hell, what just happened there?
Sometimes, can you?
Unbelievable. But can you imagine, my whole life could have changed there. If that guy really, went face first on the ground, knocked out cold, he could have whatever, you know. And that was that.
You had to drag him off and stash him in a hedge somewhere.
Which we did think about it. No.
You're having the chat in the bivvy, right?
But madness, you know, I mean, like, you know, when you're thinking about like life-changing things, I'm fishing. I mean, I've had a couple of sort of life-changing things happen in fishing. I mean, that there is something that gets your eyes open, you know. Another time fishing with my brother. We were a little bit of a backstory. So at the time we were doing, and again I was probably 17, 18 at the time, we were doing lots of boat fishing in the Thames estuary, fishing from a guy called Terry Batt's boat, who's quite a known skipper in that area. He's a bit of an old legend. I think he's even still going to this day. But anyhow, we were doing, at the time we were doing a lot of cod fishing. There was cod around then, you could actually catch them. And in just a bit of a digress, incidentally, that's where, on his boat, that's where my first magazine shoot actually happened for Total Sea Fishing. We had Dave Barham came out one day with Barney Wright, and we featured in Uptiding for Thames for cod. Funny story about that as well, just to step from one to another. I'm flying around here a bit, but at the time, me and my brother were like fucking catching 30 and 40 codling cod a time. And they came out, we had it all scheduled, and we were rinsing it leading up to when they came out. And as you know, fishing is fishing. They came out and we're sitting on the boat saying, I'm telling you, Dave, we're going to do this and that. And it was pissing down with rain all day, like the most miserable day. And literally between us, I had a couple of codling, my brother had a couple, and there was 3 of them that came out. They had 1 codling between them for this, you know, Thames estuary.
That's fishing in a nutshell.
Dave's a good sport though, and he's going to be a guest as well.
He's a top bloke, yeah. I mean, you know, that's the only running in I've had with him over my life. But actually, they were really nice on the day.
Proper good fun. Yeah.
He's from that area. He's from that our area also.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but just to get I guess we did that photo shoot in about December time, and that came out in the magazine, I think, probably January time or February, like it was just early spring anyway. And just around the time of it coming out, we were still going out with Terry Batt and on his boat, and we went out. So we went out one day with Terry Batt weren't skippering that day. He had like a standing skipper called Dylan. We went out and had a really good down the cod, and it was a little bit lumpy, but we had a really good down cod and also thornback rays. The Thames is like there's shitloads of them there.
What year was this then?
So I was 17, 18 then, so...
96?
Yeah, no, a little later than... probably 96, 97, something like that.
You're 81, aren't you?
Yeah, 81, yeah. So, around
96,
probably late 90s, I would say. And we had a really good day. Like, as I say, the Thames at times is paved with thornbacks. You can sit on a bank at times and have to move away from them because they're just a nuisance, really. And I love eating fish. I'll take cod to eat, but I don't eat any of the shark species. I don't like them. I think they've got a bit of an ammonia pissy taste. I've tried them. I don't like skate. I don't like any of the smooth hounds or dogs or anything like that. My brother, on the other hand, likes thornbacks. So we took a couple of thornbacks for him for the table. You know, taking 2 thornbacks out of 30 or 40 fish is not killing the seas, you know? No. So I don't know if you know about sort of cleaning and dealing with thornbacks and skinning them. No. They need skinning, so they've got really rough skin on them with thorns in them. Yeah. And the process of doing it is twofold. You need to cut, so you've got the thornback ray, it's like, you know, let's say it's like that, like a triangular, let's say, you know, you've got this triangular shape. You have to cut its head section out, take the tail section out, so you're effectively left with like a set of wings with a middle stem that you can hold on to the middle stem. You then have to make a couple of cuts on the skin just where the wing joins the main body that you're holding onto, and then you can use pliers or actual skinning tools to skin them. So what we were doing, we had like a little conveyor belt going. I'm better at filleting than what my brother is, so I had the filleting knife, so I'm filleting the cod up, and then we get to the skate, and the plan is that, like we always generally do, I will cut the head out, cut the back section out, cut these little incisions in it, pass it over to my brother, and then he's going to pull the skin off with the pliers. So we're rocking about. I do the first one. My brother's just pulling the skin off the first one. I start on the second one. I've just cut the head. This move like that. My brother's like, "You've just stabbed me," and I'm like, what? He's like, you've got me, I'm telling you. I'm like, fuck off, Matt, you know? He's like, I'm serious. So he holds his hand out, and there's a tiny little hole on his hand about 1 centimetre big there. And I'm just like, what? And then he tries to close his fingers, and his finger doesn't shut. And he's like, I can't close my hand. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Literally, honestly, I mean, I swear to you this, I did not even know. It was like rocky boat, I'm pulling, I just went, and he's like, you've got me. And I'm like, what? So I'm telling him, Matt, it's probably the shock. That's why you can't close your hands. It's like, the shock of being pricked with this little thing.
Being knifed by your brother.
Yes. So there's this little hole. It starts bleeding down his arm. There's a fair bit of blood coming. So I made him a make-do bandage with a rod bag, a rod hodl, tied it tight around his hands. So he gets home overnight, and I'm like, that'll calm down. It's probably just like shock and a bit of swelling in your hand or whatever. Next day, his finger still doesn't go down. So he goes to the hospital to have it checked over, as you do. And they check it over, do all the x-rays or whatever they do with it, and it turns out that I've severed his tendon in his hand. And he had to have reconstructive surgery on his hand. I've actually brought a couple of pictures in to show you. That there, you can see there, all the way down his fingers there.
So for the listeners that aren't watching the video, we've got a picture up of when he shanked his brother up.
Well, that's the remnants of the operation.
So that's right across the palm?
Yes.
Did his finger always bend over like that?
No, so that's part of what happened.
So not only did you stab him, you've now deformed him for life.
No, so the story continues. That's the thing, is that, so you won't see the mark on the side of his hand because it was literally like a centimetre. I mean, you wouldn't know that a knife had been in there and came back out again, but...
It must have gone in a bit.
It must have gone in and then literally severed the tendon and come back out. So he had to have reconstructive surgery on his finger to reattach. They had to open his whole hand up and reattach the tendons. He was in like a claw for about 3 months. He's going to love me for saying all this, but he was in like a claw for about 3 months with his hand up like this. It all healed up. Everything was fine. Lovely. You get on with your life. He's got a bit of scar there and his hand's sort of semi-working okay, fine. So then moving on from that, about 6 months later, we bought our first boat. And we had this, it was like a Shetland type boat with a little cuddy, about 14-foot Shetland boat. And it had an outboard engine on it with a pull start. And the pull start used to give you like a mad kickback. It was one of these old shit dog engines. And like sometimes you'd pull it and it'd be like, woo.
Yeah.
So, doesn't it, when it gets you? Yeah.
Well, you know what's coming. So his hand worked fine. We were out fishing and he's a bit cold. And I'm like, yeah, we're going to make him, like, we'll go for a move somewhere or whatever. So he pulls the fucking pull start. He kicks back and he's just like, oh, fuck, my hand again. I'm just like, what? And that's it. And you can see if he managed to get the photos on whoever your viewer's looking at it, I mean, his finger then just literally bent up like this. And
it's never went back.
He could have, I mean, so he went back there and they just said, look, you need another surgery. And he's just like, sod that. I can do with a bent finger, you know? But yeah. And that's life-changing, isn't it? That's almost, just fishing. And obviously not meaning to do it because you're just putting about doing what you're doing, and like that one split second that he's got a deformed finger all his life. Sorry, Matt. He knows I love him. But yeah, I mean, there you go. So but moving on from that really to sort of owning our own boats, and that's where my boat. When we were younger, obviously, we couldn't afford boats until we were just getting a little older and working and save some pennies up. So we had that Shetland was our first boat. And then my uncle picked up a boat, which was like a 23-foot Wilson Flyer.
I had a 23-foot Wilson Flyer.
Yeah, so quite spacious, like a tank, really.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
I mean, another funny story to tell you about our Wilson Flyer. So we used to go down to... a place called Herne Bay, which is in Kent, and it's a place where you launch you can only launch 3 hours either side of high water, and then it sort of dries out. So you've got a window of opportunity to get the boat in, do your fishing, and get the boat back out again. I mean, and this is, I guess, teething problems and experience with boats where you get to the point of where you're at in your life. You know, you're learning all this shit along the way, like don't stab your brother, you know, stay in school, don't throw drunks up the bank, you know, it's that sort of thing, you know. You learn, but you do, don't you? You learn all these sort of, and particularly with boating, I mean, we were a little bit sort of suck it and see. Just go out, do it, you know, we've never been mavericks or unsafe, but trying to be safe all the time, but sometimes you know what the sea's like.
It's hard to be safe all the time on a boat.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're out on this particular day on this Wilson Flyer. There's 4 of us: Matt, my brother, my uncle, whose boat it was, me, and we took one of my cousins out. He'd never been fishing before, out on the boat. And my cousin's like fucking massive. I'm quite a big guy. I'm like 6'2", you know, 17 stone. My cousin is like shoulders like this and like stands head and shoulders above me. He's a giant, but not fat, so to speak.
He's just a big boy.
He's got like a relatively, well, I wouldn't say small waistline, but compared to his shoulders, it looks small anyway. So he's a big, heavy lump. Well,
he got on the boat after your reputation. I mean,
yeah, well, exactly. Well, it weren't my doing this time round. So we go out fishing all day. We were fishing for smooth hounds and skate in the estuary and bass as well. Had a good day, and we were catching quite a few smooth hounds. And the tide's starting to ebb, and like we're getting to the stage where we need to get back in. Otherwise, we're going to be out for another whole cycle of tides. Yeah. So we leave it a little too late, and we start whizzing in. Get right into the actual harbour itself, and the harbour at Herne Bay, there's like a harbour wall. It runs sort of not out to sea at all. It sort of just runs along the coastline, and there's like an entry point, and you go in and go along this harbour wall that's running along you, and there's like 100 yards of waterway all the way into the slipway, and it's just like a runway sort of with this wall on your left hand side, the beach stroke mud banks on the right hand side, and then the slipway straight ahead. So we're sort of we know it's touch and go. We're sort of full steam ahead to get to the slipway. Bump. We've bottomed out. We're stuck. So we're about 40 yards from the rocks on one side, 50 yards from the slipway, and we're stuck in the mud. No way of getting out. We're there for a whole tide. So I mean, and this actually leads on to and feeds into sort of my enjoying doing videos and YouTubing. At the time, even I had a camcorder back in them days. I bought a little Sony Handycam. And used to do little nothing to post, obviously, because there was not. I don't even think YouTube was even invented then, but do our own little private videos and whatnot. And I've actually got this one on video. I did put it on my YouTube channel a little while back, but I took it back down because I thought it might send the wrong messages, getting stuck in the mud and this and that. But anyway, my brother was like, fuck this, I'm not sitting on the boat for 6 hours here. There's the shore there. I'm going to wade across the mud. It's only knee deep. Like, my brother at the time was like 12 stone. So he jumps off the boat, takes his trousers off, in his underwear, shoes round his neck, and creeps across the mud and gets out, probably about up to his knees in the mud. Now, my cousin's on the boat, getting stir crazy, and I'm like, I'm not doing that, fuck that, that mud looks soft, I'm not walking across that, and my cousin's calling over to my brother saying, do you think it's going to be all right? He's like one of these big, like, not so smart, not very sharp, like, and my brother's like, yeah, you saw I'm all right. I only went to my knees. He's like, you reckon? Yeah. So I'm just sitting there waiting with the camcorder thinking, this fucker is going to go across this mud in a minute. You know what's coming. So he starts walking across. So he strips off, first of all, down to his underwear. He's got a nice set of stripy boxers on, ties his shoes around his neck, puts the trousers around his neck as well, and then starts making his way across. As he's walking across, he gets like midway and he almost like loses his footing a little bit, and he's only sort of knee deep, and then he steps and he just goes rump right up to his fire, onto his to his inside of his bollocks, and he's like, I thought you said it was only need. Then my brother's a joker. He was just there, just going, like that. And I've got the camcorder. I'm just going, all you can see is the camcorder just shaking up and down. So he's got one leg deep in and one leg sort of further out. Then he goes to move his leg over and step with this leg, and then he's just like, rump up to his waist. I'm like, so, and the funny thing, like, we're just sitting there busting up him, as you can imagine. Then he manages to sort of get himself off with his hands and that and creep out. He looks like fucking Swamp Thing. He's a massive, great big bloke, and he gets up out of this little mud bank a little bit. Then he starts, and he thinks he's got it, and he's like, whoop, 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 rump, straight back down. It's that second one, he just gets you. I mean, I've watched that video 1,000 times, and that second one, when he sinks back down again, even though I know he's coming, you just think, fucking hell, what an idiot, you know? Fancy doing that. And so then he climbs up, scrambles up the rocks, walking along, and I've got it on film. He's literally, my brother's walking with him, and you've got this fucking mountain of a bloke like that. He's all standing tall and proud, but he's fucking boxers. He's got mud up his arse everywhere. He's like, even at one stage, he's like, I think I've got it in my crack, you know, like that sort of thing. And literally, we're just obviously hurling abuse at him all the way through. We sat there, so me and my uncle was left on the boat, and we sat there literally until the battery run flat on my camcorder, watching that video back, just laughing our head off at him, you know? It's the funniest thing, and even any time I watch it to this day, it makes me laugh, you know? So yeah, there you go.
What a live special video.
Big time. I mean, I thought
the gift that keeps giving.
If there wasn't so much bad language and, you know, real bad language, etc., you could have gone You've Been Framed on it easy, you know? It should have gone on to You've Been Framed. I should have done it anyway, you know, just to see if they
was it 150 quid you got?
Whatever, just for the point of putting him out and posting it out there, you know, making a mockery of it.
Love it.
But I mean, and just brushing on that about sort of filming and that sort of stuff. So I was keen on that then, you know. I was keen on making fishing videos, watching your John Wilsons, you know, watching your Matt Hayeses, you know. I used to, and they had it proper, you know, like in terms of the way they did it, they had it proper. They're not like.
Well, they had film crews.
I know they had film crews, but they still seem to have something. I don't know. There was like, I mean, Fish TV, for instance. You know, I've sometimes watched bits on Fish TV. Then none of them are the same. None of them are the same as those old. I might just be getting old, but none of them are the same. You watch John Wilson, like not his early stuff because it was like basic, but watch Wilson's World. And you tell me that ain't like top of the range fishing videos, you know, or Matt Hayes Total Fishing, you know, out of this world. You can sit there and I could watch the same video 20 times over, you know, I probably have done, you know, and they
get old.
They never get old. They knew how to do it, didn't they? They were proper presenters, also knew their stuff as well. Yeah. And with a production crew behind them, and of course they had money thrown into it back in them days. I don't think there's, I don't know. I mean, obviously YouTube, you could earn money from it theoretically, but I don't think there's really money in presenting now. I don't think they even make fishing videos.
No, well, yeah, I mean, fishing.net, I mean, they do a couple.
TV, isn't there?
But I mean, a lot of it's self-funded.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all. I mean, the new series, the Matt Hayes Rod Race.
Yeah.
That's crowdfunded.
I mean, yeah.
Is that going on TV or is that going?
Yeah, for the crowdfunding people that's put money up first.
I think they get a month earlier, and then it's going to go on the. But I mean, that was they got zero help for that.
No,
even the sponsorship couldn't get tackle brands to give them money for it. No. It was completely crowdfunded, really? and that was fans. They didn't want to do it. They said they were never ever going to do it again, and it was off of Matt Hayes' Facebook, where they'd got the public to say we'd love to see it. Yeah. Someone said I'm going to set up a crowdfunder, and from off the back of that, one of the fans set crowdfunder up. They got like stupid amounts of money, and off of the back of that, they filmed another series of the Great Rod Race.
It's not a cheap operation.
No. It was 20 odd grand. I think it was. They raised to get the whole lot going and.
That would just get eaten up. I was going to say, like, even just putting a podcast studio together.
Minimum of 20 grand, I think he said, but also they have to have people got vans and all this for them.
Yeah, they got the only backing they got. I think they got someone's given them a long wheelbase transporter. It's been logoed up, and then when the series finishes, they're auctioning it off, and someone can win the van.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But proper presenters, you know, somebody like when you compare your YouTuber to a Matt Hayes, there is no comparison. You know, like when you're talking about Fish TV, I've looked through a load of stuff on Fish TV, and the only decent stuff on there, Matt Hayes has done of Canada trip, and I'll sit there and get engrossed in his whole series because he just knows how to present. Some people you want to follow, don't you? You know, some people are good,
naturally good at it.
Naturally, and you want to listen, and you're hanging on to every word they're saying. You know, some people know how to do it, and other people, you know, like YouTube. There's lots of people on YouTube that are really good anglers that just don't put themselves over well enough, or, you know, I don't know. There's just
I think it's a skill set in itself, being able to talk and especially just talking to a camera.
Yeah.
There's nobody else about. There's no other you've got no sounding block to come back. You've just got to try and put something together.
Yeah.
I think all of that takes time. I'm sure a few of these YouTubers that do it will get better with time.
Yeah, of course.
But
you naturally
some of them are just, you have to have something. You have to be able to talk in front of a room of people to be able to contemplate doing something like that.
And I know guys that are fishing assassins.
Snipers.
Yeah, just amazing anglers that will begrudgingly have a photograph taken of them. You video them or talk, don't want no part of it, you know. But they would be, if they could. You just, mate of mine, Tom, no social media. I get updates from his missus on Facebook. She'll send me pictures. He's got no interest in it at all. He's an assassin, fly angler, angler. But he's just got no interest in it. I mean, he would be amazing. I mean, talk, and you go out with him. He talks to talk. We just spend the entire time laughing. He's phenomenal. But put a camera in front of him.
I mean, not everybody wants to do that, do they? You know, not everyone wants to do that.
Well, I've done that with the magazines and stuff. I mean, you sell Barman, that lot, and Jim O'Donnell and Gilby and all those guys. You'll take people out and they'll catch really good fish.
Yeah.
They don't know how to have a photograph taken themselves. So they get a bit awkward. You put a camera on them. Yeah. Not everyone can have a camera put in their face and still do it. I mean,
and when you're talking about magazines, you know, let's go back to my first experience in the magazine. We caught 5 fish that day, two each for me and my brother, 1 for their crew, and you can make a whole article, a whole thing over that. You know, you can add a few photos of a few casts in action, maybe a bait sat on a table there, and then it's all print. Whereas if you're doing it like on YouTube, I'll go out for a day's fishing. If I'm not having a good day's fishing, you can't be posting it. I mean, well, some people do.
Do you film all your trips then? Is it all filmed that you do?
Yeah.
What do you film on?
I film on GoPro and phone. So I have a mixture of sort of so I think there's a few things. I mean, if I'm going out shore fishing, you've got to carry your stuff. I have to carry all my fishing tackle. Then I have a bag with my bits of camera stuff in and that, and it starts to get heavy. And a lot of the marks that we fish in Devon, I mean, let's just say when we're fishing in the estuary areas for bream, you're walking miles, like literally miles.
I saw that on the video. You fast tracked it, and
that's like 10 times fast tracked or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it is like miles and miles of walking, and you've got bucket loads of stuff. It's not easy, you know. So you have to limit what you can take. But it also needs to be. I mean, in this day and age with the cameras and that, it's easy, isn't it?
Which GoPro do you use?
GoPro 10. So not completely, you know, but it films in 4K. You know, I keep on thinking to myself, I'll get another GoPro just to stick it in different angles. But then I think if I take another one, it's more batteries, because GoPro, and notoriously, they run through the batteries like that, you know? And you're out on...
I mean, a lot of us have gone over to Osmos, haven't we? Mentioned it in a previous one. DJI Osmos.
Yeah, so my son... Well, he'll be saying, "Told you so, Dad." He said to me, "Don't get GoPro, Dad. Look, this YouTuber, this guy said this DJ," and I'm just like, "Oh, just go with a Trident." I'm like a dinosaur.
My personal, I mean, I've used both, and those Osmo, I got an Osmo 2.
Way better.
Pisses all over the GoPros.
Yeah.
GoPro went to front-facing camera screens on them, so you could see.
That. Yeah.
Well, that was because of DJI. DJI's first Osmos had the front. That was the whole point of it.
Yeah.
You could stick it on a thing. Yeah. Tell it to take a photograph or video, and you could frame yourself. There was no like filming blind and I'm sight to the left. Yeah. And so when GoPro started doing that, that was a direct effect because DJI were doing it for 2 camera versions before.
Yeah.
And like I say, I'm nothing to do with them, but if you go down the market of potentially getting another one, seriously look at it.
Well, I mean, I inevitably it will probably happen, because just for my own fulfillment. And this is like my YouTube channel. I didn't want it to be like a big load of preachy lessons. This is how you tie a knot. This is what
I wanted. It's not tutorials. It's just you fishing.
I just wanted to watch. I wanted it to be a fishing video.
Yeah, share your stories. Yeah.
Look, I'm not Matt Hayes. I'm not any of them, but I wanted it to be in modern day terms. Just switch on. I know what I like to watch. I get bored if I'm sitting there watching an hour's worth of video and they catch one doggy. I just think, what was the point of that? I can go and catch a doggy anywhere I want to catch a doggy, you know? You watch as somebody who's sort of mixes it up a little bit, you know, like I watched this guy, Fish Island TV. I don't know if you've seen him, does the Channel Islands, but one day he'll be on a canoe. Like this last video, he just dropped his out fly fishing for bass. He lost a real good one on the fly as well, and I like that, you know. I like.
Sounds a bit like Jake from Muscle Fishing.
Yeah,
he's got his little boat. He's got his kayak. He'll fish from the shore.
That's it, exactly.
He'll go carp fishing. He'll be out on the wrecks.
Yeah,
just loves fishing.
I mean, you know, what's wrong with that? Firstly, and when you're watching it as a viewer, you know, that's for me. That's as a fisherman, that's what gets my juices flowing. You know, I watch people doing stuff that I would really be liking to be doing. You know, let's fly fishing for bass. It's a good crack. You know, that's something that I'd definitely be targeting and having a go at. And then
it's not fun. I do a fair bit of it.
Yeah. I mean, again, I've stalked you out a little bit. I've seen you holding up a couple of very nice fish. You know, and for me again,
pump chucks.
But for me again, you know, of course, we're all looking for specimen fish. But going out doing it and just catching fish, like I always look at it like a numbers game of decent fish. So if I'm filming, back to when we were talking about what you need to do when you're filming, you need to get a good enough amount of content to be able to put it up for a video. You know, I'm not the one to put up like a whole hour-long video with one fish caught. I've had a few number of trips where I just scrubbed them, you know, where I won't put it out there because I just don't think there's enough content. You know,
So do you ever go out without no cameras at all, or do you always take them with you?
Mostly I take the cameras with me, but I'm planning a trip to go night fishing for some smoothhounds this week, and I won't take the cameras then, obviously, because of the lighting and all this business. But yeah, I mean, nowadays I'm taking the cameras with me because I've got it to a point where it's almost like part of the fishing.
Yeah, it's part of your setup.
It's and sort of you get it to a point where, as you say, part of your setup. You know, with fishing, it's all routines and patterns. You know, if you're sort of hitting a mark regularly, you'll go and you'll put set your rod up the same way. You get your camera set up the same way. You're waiting for the same trigger points to start the camera filming, this and that. So yeah, it's pretty easy to keep the camera. Yeah. And as you are filming, you're forever thinking to yourself, if you don't take the camera and you fucking have a beast, you know,
kicking yourself.
Definitely.
Mine stemmed from mine was stills, but it's still camera stuff. Yeah. Was I fish for pike in the winter on the fly and things like this, and I'm quite often on my own because. It sounds awful, but we touched on it earlier on, but it's other people that blow your marks or they'll be on your spots. So I quite often go on my own, and I wanted to get pictures, so I actually invested quite a bit of money on a decent gorilla pod. I got an Insta3 62-meter stick and proper camera holder, and it was quite a process to eliminate some stuff that didn't work, find stuff that really worked, because I wanted to film myself. So and basically I film it, and then I'll take the stills out of the film.
Yeah.
And that's what I did.
But that's how that was.
On my phone.
That was, and that just now becomes. People say, "Oh, is it not a ball ache taken right with it?" No, it packs right down. It slicks into the side of my rucksack or my vest, and it's just part of what I do now.
But you've got a passion for that, also, haven't you?
Yeah, and it's enjoyable.
It's one of these things that
it's a hobby in the hobby, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, let's get it real. YouTube money. You know, people think you're going to be earning money. You're not earning money from YouTube. You know,
do you bring anything in from your YouTube?
So YouTube has a couple of thresholds where you can sell your own stuff. I mean, who wants to buy my stuff? Honestly, I don't know.
Are you monetised on YouTube?
I'm not monetised. No, I'm not monetised. I mean, of course, if I get the opportunity where it's going to be much big enough to be able to be monetised, then of course, who wouldn't want to be getting paid to go fishing? But let's be realistic. You know, you're doing it out of the love for fishing.
The love of the fishing, yeah.
You're doing it out of also your creativity side and your love for actually filming and editing, because it's. I mean, I go.
You do your own editing.
Everything.
What do you edit on?
I've just an editing app on Splice editor. So it's all low-key stuff. People are probably looking, going, look at it. But my videos come out all right, and I've had so much feedback with people saying, "Wow, I love the way you put it together." Blah blah. So I'm satisfied.
So you literally take an SD card out into the laptop, downloading all the stuff, and using Splice to put it together.
Pretty much like that, And obviously with the GoPro, you can also just you're downloading it also onto onto your phone and that sort of stuff, Yeah. But you'll see, like, you can. I don't know if this is coming up on the screen, but you can see. I mean, so
you should be monetized, shouldn't you? On 551 subscribers, isn't it 500?
No, 1,000.
No, so it's 500 subscribers just to sell stuff. Now, as I brushed on, who wants to wear my shit? No one wants to wear my shit. You
don't want to be a brand. Who
wants to wear my stuff? Honestly, I mean, there's 500 people, but there's 500 people watching it. I get a real good kick out of people giving me positive feedback. The amount of views that I'm getting hit with. I mean, this video, I think, over 4,000 views. It's been out for a week or 2 weeks. Yeah, 4,400 views. So I mean, it's quite overwhelming. The Guilt Ed one I just dropped had over 5,000 views in a week. 5,000 people have watched that video. It's amazing, really, when I think about it, But when I'm fishing, I'm almost at the stage where I go out fishing, like whether I'm filming, I'll go out once a week on my own every time. I'm always fishing once a week. I try to, whether I go shore fishing or on the
Plymouth,
boat.
Isn't it?
That's it. I mean,
obviously
that's just
QAB.
Yeah, that's just getting some bait fish to start with before we start the session.
You've been struggling to find mackerel down there.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah,
really bad.
We've been finding some pilchard. That's about it.
Yeah, well, that's it. This is sardines here. Lovely to eat, not bad for bait, but
my favourite places to fish right there.
They fall apart.
Drake's Island.
Big wrasse on Drake's.
Yeah.
Big wrasse.
Yeah, I mean, you get gilt heads around there as well.
I've seen big place on big low tides out there chasing our wrestlers.
Have you?
Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah. So my
one of my favourites.
But I mean, what got me back to so my first initial run-in with YouTube was around 8 years ago. I started off running a series of videos where I wasn't talking. I was just filmed on a brick, out with friends. I've always been relatively successful in terms of putting fish on the bank. Whether you look at my technique and think, people who know me know that if I'm fishing with a group of blokes, and I'm not blowing my trumpet at all, but if I'm sitting on a boat, I'll be one of the top rods on the boat because I'm working hard. I'm a hard worker. That's what I put it down to. I won't just, if I get a bite, I won't just sit there knowing my bait's gone. I'm going to think, right, that's done me. I'm up, I'll rebait, whereas some people will get a bite and they'll just be waiting for another half hour for nothing because they've got no bait on. And you go out on a charter boat, for instance, and you're looking around and you see somebody with their rod there for like 40 minutes and you think, mate, you need to change your bait there. You've got no bait left on there. I've had 4 fish in that time.
Yeah,
and that's why I put it down to a lot of it is thought on what the fish actually want, not what you think they want, and then hard work when you find out what they want. So
this now, what we're looking at, is that just your phone poking at you?
No, so that's the GoPro on my chest there.
Yeah.
And the phone's filming that at the front.
Yeah. So that's just on your phone?
Yeah, just on the phone.
What is that, like an iPhone?
iPhone 15 Pro Max. So decent enough iPhone. It's got some quality, HD,
Stability's pretty good on it, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, these phones and cameras are so clever now.
I mean, if you don't need to take out, I mean, for most guys, you could do an awful lot of your photography. Even the mags now, e-mags.
Yeah.
You can do full features on a phone now if you wanted to.
Absolutely. I mean, it's filming and then you're downloading it into HD. I mean, the quality of that there on the big screen, it's not pixelating, is it really? I mean, it's good.
I'll take a little. I've got the lightning adapter USB, like your USB card. Little adapter plugs in the bottom of my phone.
Yeah.
I rip it off onto that if I want to put it to anything else.
Yeah.
And I then just plug it into my iPad. I've got a USB-C one. I've got a lightning one.
Yeah.
And I just if I'm iPad or little MacBook or whatever, and I just plug it in, and you don't need to virtually send anything. You just rip it straight across.
So much easier, isn't it? But with going back to the YouTube, so I started running a few videos around like 8 years ago. Like I say, I had about 20 videos on there, but they were like 2-minute shorts, really. no talking. I didn't really want to be presenting, but I wanted to get out because we were doing some good fishing at the time. You know, for instance, I've kept a couple of them on there, like stingray fishing and smooth arm fishing from the shore. You know, people are not catching stingrays. You know, people don't. It's like, oh, I wish I could catch. Or you know, nowadays gilt-edged bream fishing. You know, they're fish that people really want to catch, and they think they're impossible to catch. But actually, if you go to the right places and do the right things, it's although they can be quite elusive, and that's with all these sort of tougher fish to catch. That's what it's all about, is just understanding their life cycle.
The challenge, yeah.
They're moving. They're just not in one space. They're nomadic, and so you have to understand that you can blank 5 sessions. You can blank sessions on them because there may not be fish swimming in front of you at that time. But when they come, if you're doing the right things in the right places, you will catch them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we run, you know, cod fishing first. The first one I ever dropped was cod fishing about 8 years ago, which was at the Dover Admiralty Pier, which is quite a famous pier. And me and my brother over the years have like taken that place to pieces, really. We've had sessions on there where we've had multiple double figure fish off of the wall, and everyone wants to catch cod off the Dover wall. So we did a little video, and I caught a cod actually that day, stuck it up, did a few more videos for the next sort of year out on a few charter boats, this and that, and then I never promoted it, never put it on. I don't even think whether Facebook was a thing then or not, I don't know, but I wasn't part of Facebook then, and I just left it at that. Fast forward a few years, there's this massive trend of people YouTubing. Everyone's pushing their stuff to all of these Facebook groups and whatnot, and it's such a good medium to actually push your stuff out. You know, I'll do it. I'll get a video and post it up into the boat fishing groups and that, because how else are you going to get found or get it seen?
Yeah.
And then X amount of years down, so you have all these people sort of starting YouTube, and some of them have become really big. You know, and we're talking about money. Some of them are earning proper money from it. You've got to be shit lucky for that to happen. The stars have to align, and I do believe that if you was at that particular stage and pushing it, you would, you know, your numbers would be up to that point now. But it's difficult now because there's so many people at it.
Yeah.
But I, just for some off chance, in recent times, I looked back at my old YouTube account. I didn't even realise it was still running. And I've looked at these old series of videos, and I've got like 50,000 hits on there, 50,000 views over the few years of these 2-minute short videos. And I just thought, you know what, I enjoyed doing that. I might give that another go, you know. And I started off back out again with a phone attached to my chest, because this is another thing in terms, I love this sort of like fisherman's perspective view, you know, where you've got either on your chest or it's mounted on your head. Now it's a little bit awkward all day long having a fucking camera on your head. And actually, I'm sure you can see I've got a real good fisherman's tan, but I've got like a white fucking streak across my head. It looks like I'm wearing a
you get the sunglasses.
Yeah, that's it.
I see quite a lot now where the guys, GoPro make them and a few of us make them, but are the shoulder mounts.
Yeah.
So it's slightly off angle at it, and it gives a really good view.
Well, I mean, I've not seen that, but actually, I will most definitely now look into that, because what I found,
Amazon cheap ships, and it's just a little similar to that, but it sits on your shoulder, and it's like a over your shoulder. You can get these little foot-long extension sticks for it, so you can get an even more, and it's on the hinge like the GoPro, so you can tilt it back but higher, and it gives a really cool fishing perspective. Yeah. And it's all on.
I mean, what I've found with this perspective on the chest is, it's good for certain reel types. Like if you're fishing a fixed ball, it's fine, because just the way your hands are situated in front. If you have a look, I mean, if you've got a multiplier set up, you're holding the rod with your. I'm right-handed, so I'll hold the rod with my left hand, which cuts across my body. The rod's cutting across the other way, and then the reel handles on the right-hand side. And what happens is you end up snookering yourself with the camera, and all you're seeing is hands all the time right in front of the camera, and you get all, I mean, even now I'm explaining it, you can see the hands are there, but with a fixed ball you can sort of hold it out a little bit, and you can get most of the action in away from your body. When I'm fishing fixed ball setups and bait fishing, really, or my big beach casting outfits, then I'll go head mounted, because you're sort of, you can look down at your hands, or you can move it away from your hands as well, which is obviously, you know, what people don't want to see is just your hands, you know. But yeah, there you go. So, you know, I came back, started banging out a few YouTube films. I've put out a few shorts as well on YouTube, just like hooking up a fish and having it screaming off. I've done a couple of lightweight pollock fishing sessions with little lightweight spinning outfits, and Pollock's screaming off, taking me down to the reef.
Make good shorts, those
Oh, big time. It's like hit up, whoa, you know.
Great fun, yeah.
And you stick a short up, and within 24 hours, you've got 5,000 or 6,000 people have looked at you. You know, it's incredible. You know, really, sort of how many people. And I said to my, you know, I got that sort of perspective of the camera a lot from. There's a lot of American guys that do that sort of looking through the angler's perspective, and I really like it. I follow a few American YouTubers. I really like their stuff, you know, and I'd love to be able to emulate them. Of course, I'd love to be able to emulate their numbers as well, because they are in the money, and I'm not in it for money, I've got to say. But of course, no one would turn it down.
Different world over there, isn't it?
Of course.
One I follow is called Josh at Pig Patrol.
Okay.
And it's freshwater fishing mostly, but it's but he does a bit of everything. He doesn't go for the big specimen bass.
No.
He does like all the stuff that none of the others want to show on their YouTube clips.
Yeah.
They call it Pig Patrol, and it's really watchable.
Yeah, I follow a guy called Bearded Brad. I don't know if you've ever come across him, and angling with Brad. So they seem to be all very familiar with each other, but he's like a chilled out sort of surfer type dude. He's got just a good way to watch on camera, but the angles that they get also, like they do this sort of, you know, fisherman's perspective, and you know, so that's what I wanted to sort of start to aim at, you know. And when I started back, I said to my boys, you know, I'm going to start doing the YouTube again and that, and they're like, yeah, you know, because youngsters are into that, and why not do it, Dad, you know? So, and I said to them, one thing what you never want to do with YouTube is post up a short or a video where you're getting a fucking run a merry dance with a fish, and then don't show the fish at the end of it. I said, there's one thing that pisses me off, is that, you know, you see this mega fight, and then you're itching to see what that fish is, and then all of a sudden it cuts off, or, you know, and then I say it always gets hate mail. So one day I posted up a video of a really lightweight spinning outfit catching a big pollock, and I didn't realise the angles of the camera. When you post it on a wide lens, if you post a short on YouTube, it squashes it down to like a long
like
thing.
19.6, yeah.
Yes. I don't quite know all the figures, but yeah, a 19.6. And then what happens is, so if you've got anything out of that sort of area where, you know, you're filming on your wide lens, if you're handling that fish sort of slightly off centre, you're losing it. Well, I didn't even, what I did was I put it into my editor, edited up this lovely short, posted it up, and I've put some sort of catchy heading, like thought I hooked a submarine or something. It was giving me a merry dance, and minutes worth of fight, this and that, and then you literally see my hand come down and my arm's doing this and no fish, and then, but I didn't even realise, I didn't even like to watch it after it had gone up there, and it had about 6,000 hits in like no time. It went like, whew, and all of a sudden I've got messages coming through. Oh man, you think we sat there and watched through all that without even seeing a fish? What's wrong with you, man? And I'm just like, oh shit, I've done it. I showed it to my son. I'm just
killed your own rule.
Literally, I did exactly what I said I should never do, you know?
So did the YouTubing start when you made the move down here?
Yeah, so the YouTube, well, no.
When did you come down here?
I came down here sort of 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So the YouTube came back only in recent times, actually, but it started when I was in Essex. So there's, as I say, I deleted a lot of them because they were when the technology had changed. I wanted like the new channel, so to speak, to be all decent level content, not filmed on a brick and fuzzy old videos. Although the content was good before, I always have based it on there being good catches and good things happening. You know, technology changes, doesn't it? And to watch sort of something, and back in them days as well, I did it on portrait mode and not landscape, and it was like little like cacti, and you know, it's not really watchable. Although there's a couple of videos I've left on there because they're decent, like catching stingrays off the beach. You know, they're a rarity. I don't think there's that many on YouTube in the UK catching stingrays off the beach. You know, so yeah, I moved down from Essex to Devon about 4 years ago, and yeah, I started out. I mean, I've got to say it. Moving to Devon, best thing as a family we ever did. You know,
God's country,
fucking lovely. You know, the southeast now is so heavily, densely populated, And
anything up past Exeter, I'm not interested.
yeah, well, I go back for work, and believe it or not, folks, I have to work. You know, I'm not a full-time angler. It's a balancing act, but I put videos out, but I have to go to work, and I work in London at times. I have to literally drive in a day into London and back out again. So it's hard work, you know, and I've got this sort of mental nervous twitch now. I get to the M25, I'm like, oh, fuck this, fishing, get back home, let's go.
Do you come back down the 303?
Yeah, well, it depends on where I'm working in London. If I'm working on the west side, then it might take me sort of M4, M5 way. But if I'm working around to the southeast or whatever...
303.
Yeah.
So when you get back, you've got the Devon sign, haven't you?
Yeah.
On the 303 when you're coming down the motorway and you're just like... Oh,
yeah.
The air instantly goes lighter.
Honestly.
Everything goes greener. Lovely. So, did you buy a boat as soon as you came down here?
No. So when I moved down here, I spent the first sort of year or so just beach fishing. So I went on a massive mission when I first moved down here. I had it in my head to go gilthead fishing, to catch gilthead bream, and I was like obsessed with them for a period of time. So obviously in the southeast you don't get gilthead bream, and funny enough, so the Salcombe estuary is a very hot spot to catch giltheads, as many people know. Funny enough, years back, I took a holiday and a sea angler article had posted a markup in Salcombe for potentially catching giltheads, and I even was sort of chancing my arm then. I didn't catch any, but you know, I was even back. This was years ago. I was just thinking about giltheads, you know, and when I came down here, I mean, the giltheads are like secret squirrel. Everyone's like, oh, everyone likes to think that they're special because they've caught a couple of giltheads, and everyone also likes to think that they're the only ones that know anything because they know a couple of mites because they've been fortunate enough to live in an area where you can catch them. My experience of giltheads, they are quite tricky to catch, but because they take time. But it's only basic tactics to catch them. There's nothing rocket science. Absolutely. And yes, you know, there's certain things you have to do to modify your game. But as far as being, I'm the best angler on the block because I've caught a 4-pound gilthead and no one else knows a place to catch them, you know, because if you post a photo up of a gilthead online, everyone's licking your arse. Everybody, oh, that's a fish. Oh, well done, mate. You know, you want to get responses on social media. Go gilthead fishing. Catch a decent gilt, and you will get.
Well, we have the secret weapon now because you very kindly brought us in a tide table for a certain place, which is fully filled out by you of when you've been fishing, tides, sizes in here. So leading up to this, my £6.
Yeah, that's sort of got the
3.7.
From my experience, it's got the best tides range to fish, and what I've caught on those particular times in particular months of the year, I'm a little bit nerdy like that, you know.
It's nice to see it because not a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't go anywhere near that sort of detail, but I do have a little bit of a reference of some things and move.
If you want to be successful, it isn't just by chance. You know, everybody can get lucky with a fish every now and then.
Chance favours the prepared mind.
Yeah, but that's true.
That's from Die Hard.
Yeah. Amen. But that's very true, isn't it? You know, anybody can get lucky and catch a decent fish.
Yeah.
But if you are consistently catching half decent fish, and again, as I brushed on earlier, for me, it's a numbers game. You know, if I'm going out gilthead fishing, if I catch 3 or 4 fish in a session, or 2 or 3 fish, and I'm regularly sort of catching a few fish, although this season I've fucking struggled on them, I've got to be honest. But if you're regularly catching multiple catches, then you are doing something right, and it's only a matter of time before a decent fish comes in. You know, that big un comes along. You can't dictate the size of the fish that takes your bait. If you're catching them, you're catching them. You know, obviously.
But you can put yourself in a position to make you more likely to get that by putting in the groundwork.
Absolutely, and I mean, this is a nice.
Drop back a little bit, please, mate. Not right to the beginning. Just come back to where he has it. I've watched this where he sets the hook. Keep going along. Come where it's playing at the moment. Come back about that yay far. Yeah, there.
So I mean,
back a bit further. Back a bit further. There.
So this is my mate Martin Larkin. Loads of people know him. When you were talking about fishing films.
So is this?
Yes.
Right.
It's that whole area. So when you were talking about people that had starred in films back in the day and, screaming reels, this guy was on it. This guy has been on Henry Gilbey. He's been with Matt Hayes as well.
Have you been kicked off it yet?
Sorry?
Have you been kicked off it yet?
No. So this area here isn't what the area that people think it is. It's not the area where you're not allowed to. It's a public right of way there. No.
I thought below the low watermark there was no claim to it anyway.
It's the access to it, but this area is not quite the area where people think it is. It's just one up further, and it's a public right of way to get there.
He probably set that up, didn't he?
This is what I was about to get onto. So gilthead fishing, aside from actually catching the fish, and you see the way they scream off, they are whizzers. Aside from that, you are fishing in the best areas in the UK to fish. The most beautiful places, the most best.
If you go there and once away, probably about 10 yards here, there's that, you'll know it, there's a deep ledge that cuts off where you can see where the old track is.
Yeah.
And you stand in the morning sometimes and they're coming right up to the bladder there and they see you in bolt and it's just
an amazing place.
Because you've got that bit of a ledge, you can literally look and it's a sandbar in amongst all that weed and you can see them if you get that flat calm, a bit like that.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to watch them.
Yeah.
Because they come right up to you before they realise you're there and off they go.
I mean,
they're not in the dark.
They probably are. They possibly.
They're in the X, so they're in the team.
What is the water? How clear is the water there consistently?
Muddy.
They won't go there. They don't like dirty water. That's
dirty all the time.
They don't like dirty water. Honestly, they're like mackerel. You can't force them to go into mackerel.
We get mackerel coming in the river.
Yeah. So they're
in the X. So if they're in the X, and that's
a dirty river. They're in the team.
Yeah.
Team's filthy as well.
I'm noticing that they're getting further and further widespread. The South Coast, they're catching lots of small ones as well. At this moment in time, I've seen lots of posts coming up on it, which is great. They're starting to get dispersed around the country, which is brilliant because they are, for me, the best fish to catch in the UK. Bar none. My list of top fish to catch would be giltheads, most definitely top, followed by cod, and then smoothhounds.
What rods are you using for these?
So he uses spod rods, but I've got a set of Ziplex proper profile M sort of bass estuary rods. My brother actually bought them, had them made up for that type of fishing because he knew I was obsessed with it. So he bought me a present, a pair of Ziplexes. So
they're like 12-foot, 4.5 pound test curve.
Yeah, the Ziplexes that I've got sort of glass tips, so they're really soft on the tip. So you're getting those bite indications, but they've got backbone as well to hit into them and. These fish fly when you hook them. The 8-pounder that I had, a bit of a story about that. So, I was fishing hard for them for a whole summer period. And the best time for them is around September time, is when the biggest fish are around and sort of the most numbers are. And I went out one morning in September. I'd already had a few fish. I think just over 6 was my best by then. And I went out one September day. It was so beautiful, flat, calm. It was like something from a painting. I was actually fishing over the other side of the estuary at that time in deeper water. And turned up, first cast, rod hoops over, missed the bite. I think, fucking hell. Second cast, bang, I had a 5 pound 13 gilt. Lovely. So I'm like a man with 2 cocks already thinking, fucking hell, my day's done already, Throughout the day, went a bit quiet. Then I had a couple more fish, 2.5 pound sort of size. And then it just got towards the end of the day and I'm thinking about throwing the towel in. The tide was picking up a bit too strong for where I was. And as we all do, I was having one last cast. So I had a last cast, put it out. The second the bait hit the water, the rod hooped over and I missed it. You do miss a lot of them. They've got rock hard mouths. You'll see in this video here in a minute. We showed the mouth. Their mouths are like fucking concrete and they've got like a series of bumps in the top of their mouth. Quite often you'll get your hook sort of stuck on them bumps and you'll be playing a fish and you think you've got them on for a while and they just shake their head, they just go pop and they come off.
Do you not worry about pulling them over the top of the weed like that? They're going to bump off.
Well, if you've got them hooked, they're hook solid,
It's like hooking a rat, it ain't coming out.
It's not coming out because 8 out of 10 times you don't hook them, or 7 out of 10 times you don't hook them much more than you do hook them. Yeah. But this last this 8 pounder that I had, missed a great big bite, thought, fuck, I've got to have a quick one last cast. So I quickly cast out again, almost instantaneous again.
What a fish.
They're unreal, honestly. They are lovely fish. almost instantly again, my rod hooped over and I connected with it. And as soon as I hooked it, I thought, fucking hell, this is a proper fish. It took me, there were pontoons in front of me, and it was just going out. And I had to dip the rod under the water, so obviously I weren't getting cut off with the pontoons. Managed to sort of negotiate it back into the bowl of water that was in front of me, and then it all went solid. I thought, oh no. You know, I thought I'd lost it. It sort of half tethered itself on the bottom, so I quickly released the bow arm, give it some slack line. Instantly, it shot back out again. I thought, thank fuck for that. Carried on playing it. I lifted it up in the tide. It came all the way round to sort of the separate. I was on like a pinnacle, all the way round to the left-hand side from where I was. And I could see it on the water. I mean, it was massive, you know, as far as gilthead's concerned, an 8-pounder, a fish of a lifetime, you know. And my arsehole was going, as you do. I was absolutely, please. And like all of my hook length was frayed like it had been through a cheese grater. Literally frayed to bits. So I'm slowly easing it across the weed like you just said. I literally just got it into where my feet were, went down to about to grab it, and the hook length fucking went. I literally jumped in. No, I've got photos of me being fucking so. I jumped fully into the water behind it and flipped it up the bank. So the mad thing was there was a couple of canoeists on this pontoon having a rest at the time, just watching my antics on the sideline. They literally.
What's this naughty doing?
They came over. They started, and literally, so I flipped it over, and I'm just like, yes, you know, as you would be, the fish of a lifetime. And so they come over, they're like, excuse me, I hope you don't, what are you doing? And I'm just like, don't worry, I had boots on, like proper fishing boots with the furry inner, like the inner linings, soaked. Trousers, shirt, literally up to my chest. I didn't give a shit, you know. I was like a man with two pieces, you know. And yeah, that was it. So, you know, that fish, that 8-pounder at the time, that on that particular year, by all accounts, was the biggest fish caught in the UK.
Fish, mate.
Yeah, lovely fish.
What year was that?
2020. So that was COVID year.
Right, okay.
So yeah, leading on to that, the following year, I'm clued up on them by then. I've brought in you a little book there with sort of, you know, cross references of my sessions that I've had at particular times through that summer period, chasing after them the next year, you know. So then they never get tiring fishing for them, you know. Even if you're blanking, you're
somewhere like that.
It's honestly, I have to pinch myself sometimes, and
beautiful down there.
It's unreal. It's unreal, and I mean, even on my boat, to be honest, my boat's moored up in the River Plym system. It's 5 minutes from my house.
What boat is it?
It's an Explorer Elite 165. It's a modest boat.
What engine's on that?
It's got a new Tohatsu 40 horsepower.
I've got the small 15 on the back of one of our tenders. They're good engines.
Yeah,
Mercury's, aren't they? Basically,
yes.
Yeah, they're Mercury's.
So I bought. So the engine was like basically brand new. I had it put on over the winter period.
Did you buy the boat with an old engine on it and then sack that off?
Yeah, I did. But
what year's the boat?
To be honest, I forget. It's 2000 and
early 2000s.
I think it might be 7. I think it is 2000.
Probably had the original engine still on it.
Yeah,
time
probably.
for a change.
But it's a modest boat. It isn't, you know, you're all sick, but it gets me out there. It gets
we were talking about it earlier. They're basically a warrior.
Yeah.
The Warrior, the Alaska, you know, they're all much of a muchness. You've got a Raymarine element on there by the look of it.
Element 9.
I've got the 12 just because I wanted a bigger screen on mine.
I was going to go with that.
I need glasses. I can't. A 9's
I'm starting
no good
to need glasses.
I need.
I go shopping with the missus now, and we're like looking at fucking prices like that. She's telling me, and I'm telling her.
Varifocals. I've got full blown varifocals I've had to go to now.
That's the perils of getting old.
Yeah. Have you got a rear mounted transducer? You got it through.
Yeah, rear mounted. Yeah.
Do you get a bit when you're running? Do you get a bit of that blurring on the screen?
You do. I actually, funny enough, I had a wee bit of a problem with mine where it was sort of cutting out on me, and he kept on just sort of cutting off, and I had to do a factory reset on it. And I've got Navionics relief shading.
Yeah.
And I had to take the Navionics card out, and then I had to reprogram that also and update it with everything. There was a glitch in the system somewhere, and it started off just every so often. Just like so you're heading out to your waypoint and you've got it sort of tracking, and all of a sudden it just goes
off. You got autopilot
on
there?
No, right, no. Okay. But it just used to literally just switch off and then switch back on again, and then it's sort of back to the start-up screen, and sometimes even bounce back to the same screen. So and like, but you'd lose your GPS positioning and whatnot, where it switched off and come back on. So I reset the whole thing. I was going to send it back to them, to be fair, but I did a full factory reset the Navionics relief shading card, and it's never had a problem since. And it's a beautiful bit of kit.
Yeah,
but in my opinion, you know,
I put the Axiom on my big boat.
Yeah,
that was different.
Yeah, that was the one before the.
No,
was it?
no, that's the new one.
That's the new one. Okay,
it's different gravy that thing, but like. I think the 12 I paid like 1,100 quid for the screen.
Yeah.
Whereas I bought the 12 in the Axiom, I think it was $3,500.
Yeah.
But it's all touch screen, zooming in and out, and
they're a good bit of kit. I mean, the originally I had I had a boat before. I had a Dragonfly, which again was just sort of nothing special. Not on that boat, but on a previous boat, and that's why and then when I got that boat, it came with Lawrence.
Yeah.
And I just didn't get on well with Lawrence. I didn't like it so much. I don't know.
I think you're in that camp. Ray Marine, Loran, whichever you want to be in. I like Ray Marine.
And that's not, again, I mean, when it comes to my fishing, I have no loyalties or allegiance to anybody or anything. If I pick something up and I like it and it works for me, I'll use it. I don't give a monkey's who makes it, you know. I'm not a very good, promoter for tackle brand, so to speak.
So that touches on something I was going to ask. So, I mean, obviously you've got Southwest Sea Baits. Do you have an affiliation to any brands?
Well, Southwest Sea Baits. I'm close with Southwest Sea Baits because going back to the days of gilthead fishing, they were the first people that reached out to me.
Their website.
You'll get them up. Yeah, I mean, they were the first people that reached out to me when. Everyone's so quiet and secret, and you can't find anything, no information. And I spent time in the shop with them. You know, I was an outsider as well. And imagine, somebody from
down there, I imagine,
somebody from the southeast talking about catching out giltheads. You're taking the piss, you know. No, I'm not. I'm just living here. I just want to live my life. Just give a dog a bone, but. Matt in Southwest Sea Baits, top bloke. I really like the guy. He's down to earth, and basically my affiliation with them is that they have helped sort of push and promote me. And of course, I'll be, I'm happy to wear that. I'm a loyal guy as well. I remember the cups of tea I've sat in his shop and had chats, and the times we've been through the Google Earth maps, and he said, why don't you try this area? Why don't you look into this? Giving me ideas and that, because, you need to remember where you've come from and what people have done for you, don't you, So, it's not a monetary thing, so to speak. Potentially maybe the occasional...
They got a website?
Yeah, they're on Facebook. Yeah.
Chuck them up on Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, potentially, there's the very, the occasion.
Do they not have a website then?
I don't know whether...
What's that? There we go.
No, I don't know whether it's I think they were sort of updating it or they were doing something with it, to be honest. But with the very occasional sort of here and there discount of a bit of bait or tackle here and there, and for them promoting me.
Oh, it's a nice little shop, isn't it?
It's a lovely little shop. It's a lovely little shop.
Proper modern.
Yeah. Well, they moved from one area to another, and he's just sort of refitting the whole thing out. So he's in the process of continually fitting it out and building it up. So
did he start off as just bait, and now he's...
Where is it now?
No, don't ask me about areas in Plymouth. I'm an outsider. I couldn't tell you the actual area, but you can see it's down. It's literally opposite where the aquarium is. There's like a little industrial. It's not as far. It's not down. It's not down on the Hoe. You can see that. I mean, the address is up there. I couldn't tell you.
Unit 7,
behind QAB.
Yeah, it looks behind QAB-ish.
Yeah, so I mean that's it, and what they do as well. I mean, and this is what you guys are doing. Fishing community. They've got a fishing community going on. He runs competitions for anglers. Like, for instance, at the moment they've got like a gilthead, bream, and smoothhound competition running for a couple of months. You have like a pass code to weigh in a fish and catch and release, and there's hundreds of anglers involved with it. It's all like, and everyone's sort of shooting at the same thing, but gently competing with each other. They run the Plymouth Cod Championships, small boat cod championships.
Yeah, cool.
Well, I actually won it this year, fortunately enough. So which is nice. I feel proud to say that actually. But those little things that they're doing, you know, they don't need to do it. They're a tackle shop, you know.
Yeah.
They don't need to do the place competition and keep people involved, but they do keep on pushing.
It's nice that they push him, because obviously back in the day, heyday, we've had multiple shops and they've all kind of, with Seaview going last year and Clive's and that lot going a few years before that, you know. So it's nice to know that there still are some shops that want to get involved and help, because at the end of the day, we've often said on the podcast here, the independent fishing shops, they're the bread and butter of some angling towns, especially seaside towns where it's a community involved. Yeah. So to get the shops that still want to, you're not your angling directs where it's just a faceless outlet.
And they
independent tackle shop, go and make a brew. You know their names. They know
have a
you.
Chat with them. Go and find out. You know,
in value, and it's such a huge part of angling that unfortunately we are losing. You know.
Well, I think it's unfortunately, and this is what I went on about snobbery earlier. Unfortunately, it's like the old school still really like that. We do that. We go and have a chat. You know. But the newcomers coming through either feel bullied off and intimidated because there's idiots on Facebook pushing them away, or I've used Facebook, but you know, on social media, giving it the big un, and they don't want to then go into the tackle shop. They feel embarrassed to ask because they're so used to being behind a keyboard and not meeting people face to face.
Yeah.
They don't even know what to say in the tackle shop. Whereas really, you go and ask Matt in South West Sea, go to your tackle shop and say, you know, I'm thinking about going smoothhound fishing off the hoe, and you'll go, I wouldn't bother with that, my friend. That's a waste of time. You're not going to catch any there. Look, this is where you might want to think about going. You're going to need such and such bait.
It's imperative.
You know.
But that's why, like we said in some of our early ones, about how important it is to go to your local tackle shop. You're not going to find that online.
No.
Angling Direct, you know.
Absolutely, and we were just saying it's almost a state of the times now. Where the older generation still love that, and this is what I was just mentioning about South West Sea Bait running these different competitions. It's like there's a community of anglers that are involved with South West Sea Baits on Facebook. I think they've got a couple of thousand people following. You know,
it was 3.8. I think.
Oh, well, maybe there you go. Maybe you know, and they're mainly people that are sort of around their local area and involved with fishing.
It's their customer base, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, and as I say, as I mentioned, I'll say it again because I'm pretty proud of it. But they run the cod championships, the Plymouth small boat cod championships, which I won this year. And
what did you win it with?
2 small cod limb, but no one else caught F all. So, but
where was that run?
That's in the Tamar. So it's the Tamar Cod Championships. It was done in December time. No, sorry, it was supposed to be in December, and we got blown off, and it went to early January. But actually, and this going back to sort of about, and I'm not professing to be the best angler at all. I can catch fish because I work hard, and I worked hard to win that competition. I knew I was going to win it before we started. I think there was 40 small boats there, and I know they all stuck in their ways. Like, I'm an outsider. I went there and I'd been fishing the Tamar estuary for probably 6-8 weeks beforehand, regular, for cod.
Putting my
homework in, and all these guys, like, they're used to going upriver near the Tamar Bridge, fishing all around the liner edge, and I'd done all that, and I know what was happening. I was getting fucking hundreds of whiting and catching conger eels, small straps. I was getting played by them. I knew I weren't catching any cod, and when I fished further down the river in some of the other marks, the deeper areas, less of the small nuisance fish, although still quite a few, and the odd cod, you know? So they're all charging upriver. None of them have done their own work, but they've known, oh, that's where we catch it. And I'm thinking, well, off you go. There was about 2 other boats in the area where I was, and
everyone else had gone up. Yeah.
Everyone else went up river, and then so it was no surprise to me. You know, I caught a cod. It's like done on the day, so you can't cheat. It's the way it should be done, really. You've got a photographic evidence that you're in, the Tamar, in the boundaries of the competition, photographic evidence of the fish flapping on the bottom. There's a code word to say that's given in the morning time, so you can't cheat. The runners of the thing give it out in the morning time, and then you're going in for the weigh-in afterwards at the end, so you're not turning up with a 10-pound dead cod into a competition, you know. But yeah, so I had a couple of fish. Everyone else struggled their arse off upriver, and I just thought, happy days, you know.
Fair play.
Again,
it's working for it though, isn't it? It's doing your homework.
It's homework and working hard, and again, when I say working hard, I mean like bait wise. I mean, I will get through more bait than most people when I'm fishing. I mean, you'll see even on some of my videos, I'm throwing bait in. You know, I'm throwing in bits of mackerel. People think, oh, that just gets swept down the tide. That's a waste.
It's all sent in the water.
It isn't. It doesn't. Honestly, I mean, I've literally got videos I've edited out and not shown you, but I've caught doggies coughing up the bits of mackerel that I've been throwing in. Mouthfuls of them.
Yeah.
What do you reckon you spend a week on bait?
I don't know if my wife's watching, but no, I mean, on average, I reckon I'd get, like, for bait and bits, I'll probably get through, on average, about anywhere from between 30 and 50 quid. It depends on what I'm doing.
Okay.
If I'm going out on the boat, if I'm jigging or fishing with my lures, I don't spend a penny, just petrol. Obviously, petrol comes into it as well. But, you know, if I'm just using artificials, aside from losing lures or, you know, I've already got them. Whereas if I'm bait fishing... If the mackerel are around, then I literally won't bother buying bait, full stop, because mackerel is the kingpin of bait when you're bait fishing, or, you know, anchoring up. So, but they've been scarce, so I'll buy, if I have to, squid and frozen mackerel. You know, if I'm fishing the shore, buying crabs and worms, it could be 40 quid. I guess I'm spending 40 quid on crabs, 50 quid sometimes on bait, and then topping up your tackle. Bits and bobs. It's not cheap, is it, you know?
How much was the boat?
So all in all, I'm in it for probably about 14k, something like that, 13. No, not as much as that. Yeah, probably.
Low to mid double digits in the thousands. Yeah. And then how much is it how much is it to moor it?
Just over 2k a year.
So by the time you add it up through the year, it's a 20 grand a year hobby.
Can we edit that a bit off, please? Women are not supposed to know this sort of shit.
It's all right. We've got the analytics, haven't we, from the website? 0 women listen to this.
No, I'm talking about my fucking woman. Yeah, probably. You know what it is. You know, we're all at it. We're all doing the same thing, and you can't bullshit each other. You know, if you want to be getting around doing stuff, and that's without sort of your petrols and things. If you want to get around, do the fishing, and get out and about doing it, it's going to cost a few quid, isn't it?
It is going to cost a few quid.
It's going to cost.
But that's what some people, I think, need to appreciate when you're putting these videos up.
Yeah.
You were talking earlier about the whole negative side of people going, oh, you haven't got level wind. Yeah. Oh, your technique's not right. Hang on a second. I'm spending 20 grand a year here to put this content, and how much do you earn out of it?
Yeah,
you know,
it
doesn't even cover its cost, does it?
When you, and this is one thing that you learn when you're doing YouTube, and when you're just an innocent fisherman, you don't really appreciate this, and you might even be inclined to put your 2 bobs worth in on certain people when they've posted something up or what. But when you start becoming a YouTuber, it's incredible what right that people think they have over you to start commenting and like they think you're a professional fucking footballer. You know, the critiques. You know, you're doing something, you don't like it, mate. Piss off.
Yeah, don't watch it. You don't need to watch it, do you?
You don't need to watch it. I've done something totally for free for you
to enjoy.
And it's not even free. It's negative.
And when you were talking about like deleting comments, so here's an example. I deleted a comment. I don't, you know, it's probably one of only a couple of comments I've ever deleted. But the guy's like, yeah, mate, I think we'd all enjoy it because some of my videos I put music up over the top on certain periods. So let's say I'm doing a long walk.
Yeah.
You don't just want to hear like a sped up version of me walking and breathing like a fucking dog, ready to have an heart attack. You don't know, do you? So you dub a bit of music over it, you know, and it makes it, I believe, for a viewing experience, even more fulfilling. Now, I had somebody posted up saying, oh, mate, all we want to do is watch a bit of fishing. Why don't you just cut all this crap and cut it with this crap music you keep putting? And I'm just like, I just read the comment. I just thought, you know what, delete instantly. I just instantly flipped and just thought, nah. You know, why do I even?
You're trying to put across how much effort goes in.
Yeah.
Walking to get to that mark.
Yeah.
With all, like you said earlier, kit isn't light. You know, you're hiking a mile, 2 miles. None of us are the fittest of people anymore, you know. Hot days, up, down, over stiles, through fields. It's not like you're walking down a flat concrete towpath, is it?
No, and, you know, I mean, it's the entitled idea and generation of people that they think that because you've posted something up, you've got a target on your back. They can shoot.
Andy's take on this, Andy's take on negative comments is they've got a dead end job. The wife doesn't love them anymore. The kids don't respect them. And they've got nothing. They're not going out fishing. Their fishing fix comes from YouTube.
Yeah.
So that is their whole life is surrounded by negativity.
Absolutely.
So all they can outpour is negativity.
They're not happy people. Are
No,
they?
they're not happy people.
They can't be satisfied with life.
I'm one of the happiest people going.
Yeah.
I don't even comment. I don't even leave positive comments because I don't. I replied like we both responded on YouTube for the latest video that went up. And if someone leaves a comment like we just put one up about how to shoot tuna bars, and
I saw it.
Yeah,
actually.
do you like it?
I did like it. I did. I'm not.
I have a videographer come in.
I'm not a tuna fisherman, but watching. I mean, and I've been out once with Crusader Charters of tuna
Shout out
fishing.
Kev, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the podcast with Kev, and I've really enjoyed it. I've got to say it. I mentioned it before, but I did. I sat down, and because I guess it's really relative to where I am as well.
Yeah, it's right in your
And
backyard.
I love the way that he was saying, people have got this perception about the area we're in, Plymouth. Oh, it's a pollock area, and it's a conger. There is so much more to it than that,
Yeah, fair play.
But getting back to the tuna, I mean, I've caught some fish in my time. I've had, 100-pound, big 100-pound catfish. I've caught Mekong catfish. I've had big sharks. And one time out bluefin tuna fishing, I had one fish that day, and fucking hell, they are serious. They are. I mean, for you guys that are catching multiple catches in a day and that, wow. That's a serious feat, because I did it stand up and fight, and I got to the point in the fight where pretty much an hour into the fight, my forearms were just gone. I know that Kev was explaining about using your whole body, but I'd like to think that I was fighting it okay, but obviously clearly not. Not. But I mean, the next couple of days, my fucking hands were like, then you go on to explaining how even the smallest thing that seems rudimentary, dump the spreader bars over. No, don't dump the spreader bars over.
And then, yeah.
But you see, I was really worried about making that video. I was expecting loads of comments going, "Wow, how else do you get a bar over the side?" Like I was waiting for it, but I just thought I'm gonna make it. Because at some point we are going to have a recreational fishery. More people are going to be going to bars. I've been into a couple of tackle shops recently, and everyone's like, "I don't want to use bars. You want to use live baits." I don't think most people are ready for what actually happens with the live bait and the fight that's involved with the live bait. If you're fighting for an hour with a bar, you're going to be fighting for 3 hours with that live bait. People aren't going to have the kit and stuff. Teach yourself how to fish. Use them bars to start with, and then go down the purest way.
Well, you're still going to get that unhappy Joe who's going to comment on that about the spreader bars.
I haven't had one, to be honest.
Not yet.
The more it's out there will be. I've got to say it, and this is. I'm only picking exceptional things in terms of negativity, because actually 99.9% of everything is super positive, and it really, when you ask why do I YouTube, you get a positive comment. I've got messages on my phone there from direct on Messenger on the Facebook site. Mate, I'm watching your thing. Could you just give me a little hint? I saw you caught this, and I'm just like, fucking hell. Somebody's reaching out to you. They're appreciative. They've said, "I hope you don't mind me messaging." It's so nice.
Yeah, of course.
It's such a good feeling to
We
get
had that
positivity.
phone conversation when me and you first spoke on the phone. We had that conversation. Most people, when you meet, it's a real positive interaction.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the negativity seems to make the loudest noise and rise to the top of it.
Because they're the ones that. What do they say? The hollow vessel makes the loudest noise.
Yeah.
And it's true. They're the ones that've got nothing up there going on, and they're just
Nothing in their soul.
But going back to your spreader bar thing, and tuna fishing in general, going out that day, and I was of the opinion, I've caught some. I've been out in the tropics fishing. I've done all this. I've been out. I've had small bonitos and things like that. I've caught dorados, and catching them bluefin tuna. That is a different level.
Different gravy.
It's unbelievable. And and I've got a small boat. I could go out bluefin tuna. I've seen them. I've got photos of literally them being 50 yards, 30 yards from the boat, popping all over the place. And I wouldn't do it now having experienced it, knowing what you need to do, unless I had people with me and I bought the proper kit in. Because before I was thinking, yeah, you can use some heavy popping setup, you can use a jumped up shark gear, I'll get that in, no problem. That you can tow the boat around.
That's what you need.
No, you can't.
That's what you need.
Yeah, and that's what you need though, isn't it? You know, and even the little things like what you're saying, you know, putting the spreader bars out. If I'm out on my own 98% of the time. There's only very rare that people come out on the boat with me. If my brother comes down from Essex, or I've got a couple of pals obviously in Essex still as well that come out. But if you're on your own, you are realistically not going to be handling a spreader bar, driving the boat, trolling along, hooking your fish, playing the fish.
You're not going to do it. It's dangerous.
Following the, and exactly what you mentioned as well. I think on the Kev's podcast, when you're talking about you're strapped into these fish. You know, the wrong move, I feel totally comfortable and competent enough to never be thinking about this, but there are plenty of wallies out there that do the wrong thing with a lever drag and all of a sudden they're fucking in the drink because you won't stand up against them. They could pull a car along, couldn't they?
Yeah.
It's
they
mental.
pulled the very first one I hooked with Sean. My boat is a 7.5 metres, got a 200 Honda on the back, there's two of us on it. That fish towed us 4 miles out.
Yeah.
Pulled that boat, and at one point we were clocking along at like 3 knots.
They're unreal, aren't they? They're unreal.
I'm just holding on to it. I'm in my harness. I'm just holding on to this thing.
Well,
First
I remember Matt Hayes actually in one of his shows telling about he's doing stand up and fight for sailfish, and he mentions it. He says that I was one day fishing for sailfish and with the stand-up gear, and I got myself in a position where I got arched over and I couldn't fucking straighten back up again, and I was literally like arched over. And he says on the film, like, he's messing with the drag and things are happening, and he said by the time he'd caught the fish, he'd fucked his back and he was in excruciating agony from messing around and just getting himself sort of in the wrong position and not able to rectify it with.
That's why I start that video. This is a how to shoot the bars.
Not how to shoot.
This is not how to fish for tuna.
Rightly so.
Go get yourself down on Crusader and go and do a proper course. Like I'm not there to teach people.
No,
I'm still learning every single time.
I'm
go
definitely
out there.
of the opinion they're there to be caught for everyone, and it shouldn't just be for a select. Oh, we're allowed to fish for them, but you're not.
The golden ticket crew.
However, if you are going to fish for them,
it should be like a shotgun license.
Yeah.
There should be some serious checks done. Yeah. There should be a decent amount of money to pay for that license to weedle out the people that are just can't. If you can't afford to pay for that license, you definitely can't afford to go and buy the proper rods and reels and those sorts of things.
We've had to come into the shop and old boys and be like, slosh 30. 12.20. Look at the bars. Yeah. Oh, we're definitely doing this year, boys. I'm
just dragging that bar would snap a 12.20.
And I'm like, it's so wrong.
This is what worries me because my gear's out there for the public to buy.
You need to, look, at the end of the day, it's not if somebody is buying your gear and
it's their
responsibility to stick it on that outfit and not put it on a £30 class.
The problem is
not your fault.
When it snaps. When that gear snaps through the fight, it won't be. They never write up, I was using this rod and reel. It'll be, I was using a Tuna Gear bar and this broke.
Yeah.
I spoke to a lad recently. It was on one of the British. We posted in the Facebook group, British Big Game.
Big Game boat fishing.
Yeah, one of the big game pages. Really, really good page. And this lad had posted up, thinking of targeting tuna, what rods or reels do I want? First comment was, I've got an ugly stick 30 class and a pen something. And people are putting like the angry face emojis and all the rest of it. And I got tagged in it by a mate of mine. And I left it for a couple of days because I was like, I don't sell rods and reels, I sell bars. I'm not going down the tackle route at all. Left it a couple of days and I messaged the lad privately and just said, look, hi mate, I got tagged in this post. If you're looking for bars, I can help you. But at this stage, my greatest bit of advice is, and I listed the rods and reels that I used, the line that I used, the lip grips and the rod harness that I used. I was like, that there is about £2,500 worth of equipment. I went, I'd rather not sell you anything and you go and buy all that stuff and you've got proper gear and then come back and see me. And then remind me about this message and I'll do you a deal on the stuff.
I think for a lot of people it's ignorance. Not so much ignorance, like not wanting to be ignorant, but just not knowing.
Well, there's no content on it.
No, well, I think you hear stories of people. Oh, they beat you up. I mean, even until I'd been out there, I thought I could handle that, no problem. I mean, of course I handled it. I caught the fish, no worries. But you know, you don't realise quite what these fish are all about until you actually got one on the end of the line, and then you realise, you think, fucking hell, this is like a car being hooked. It's incredible, isn't it?
Peeling line, just
unreal.
You're just watching an 80 class wide reel.
It's
just
manpower,
emptying of line like that.
It's man versus beast, really. In the rawest form, it's man versus beast. Yeah, again, I brushed on it. I've done a bit of tropical fishing, you know, but nothing compares to them. Those.
So my plan will be, like, I am no YouTuber by any stretch of the imagination. I've applied for my recreational license this year. If I get my recreational license, I'm going to be a YouTuber, not
competition.
It'll be
assassinate.
I'm going to bring it.
I'm not going to mess with you because we know you stab people up, like, so I mean, so
exactly.
we're going to stay well clear of you. Yeah.
You stab me out on the boat. I'll fill it those everything lovely for you.
I'm literally going to bring my videographer on.
Yeah,
and we're going to try and do some real high end,
wicked.
You know,
wicked tuna.
Yeah, wicked.
Somebody should call it that. Hang on a minute.
We've had a conversation. There's some conversations going on about something like that, but that's what it needs. We need. I think this year. Oh God, it's as political as everything else. I'm not quite sure the recreational licenses have been rolled out in the way they could have been done. I think it could be a bit more open. I think there should be a bit more legislation under it and some other bits and pieces. Not legislation, some rules to what you're doing and some much better guidelines.
Are they going to get their act together in the years to come, though, and just have it like rubber stamp, yes, this is what it is, you know, because at the moment they don't know what they're doing, do they?
Anyone's guess, I suppose, isn't it?
No, well, it's all through the MMO. So ICAT gave us our quota.
Yeah.
They've given us some more quota this year. We've got like an extra. They've earmarked something like 15 tons of quota for the recreational, which is crazy because nobody is going. If there's only X amount of licenses going out, there's no way 15 tons of fish are going to die because you're not allowed to land them. You're not allowed to keep. It's all catch and release.
Absolutely.
But they've earmarked this huge amount of quota. I think a lot of that quota should have probably gone on to the commercial.
Yeah.
They've opened up that commercial fishery a little bit more because there's a real push to be had there, you know, English sourced, British sourced, Atlantic bluefin tuna.
I think the balancing act also, and I mean, look, we can't play God. It's not our place to do this, but with the advent of these fish coming round as they do, I mean, lots of people that I talk to feel like they're just wiping every single bit of bait fish out in their path.
Well, they are.
And
you can't fish at start point. You can't go bass fishing when there's a recreational pod that turn up. There's a resident pod that turn up every year, and they sit at the end of start, and they just hoover up everything.
Yeah.
The boys that are fishing off of B sands, isn't it? The little inshore bass fleet. They're all in like little 16-foot Orkneys and stuff like that. They don't even go out fishing because they're just lumping around. You see it all coming out the water, and they're just.
So is it a circumstance? I know. I mean, we're blessed that they've come back, and are we now at a stage where we're almost like sort of when you have to cull deers and sort of regulate them slightly.
It's a bit like pest control.
Yes.
Yeah, but also, so you think if you take the percentage of who's actually going to do it and land them. When you look at like last year, how many are out there?
There's only 10 of us.
How long is that? Even if you were taking everyone you caught your season, you're pissing in the wind with it still.
Yeah.
At the minute.
Yeah.
We got it was 40 tons of quota. When you see some of those busts that are going on out there, you're probably taking maybe 4 of those busts completely out of the equation. Yeah. But there's one over there, one over there, one over there, one over there, one over there.
Most amazing
and it's going from bloody Newlyn all the way up to Portland.
Yeah.
You're not even dipping.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Our quota is on this year it's 64 tons. Europe's got 44,000 tons. We're not even dipping our toe into it.
I think what we don't want, though, is to push so hard to increase limits that they say, OK, then we open it up to, you know, the international trawler fleet and all of a sudden...
They're already doing it. They're already in it.
Well, outside international waters, aren't they?
They're in the English Channel, like the Spanish and the French and all. You know, they'll all be out there catching stuff.
But I think you are right, though. I mean, we already had a fragile fishery for the other species. And then they have come in the last 10 years back to the UK shores, and there's got to,
How do you feel as a bass angler in recent years with sort of the advent of this, limits on bass? First of all, we had a ban, didn't we? And
I think
you see numbers improve.
So, it's a tough one. You can't say yes or no with it. I mean, let's take the last 2 years. Last year I had the most successful bass season ever. You couldn't put a foot wrong. This year I've had the most diabolical season, worst I've ever had ever.
That's a weather thing, I think.
Yeah. So that's not to say they're not there.
Yeah.
There's other factors have caused that.
Yeah.
So let's not say. I mean, 6 weeks time, they're starting to show slightly more east of us now. What's to say in 6 weeks time, it's bass soup out there again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those. I think any measures where we protect our fish, because that's where you go. I mean, you're not going to the States. I mean, I've said it before in the podcast about the crab boys that they pull the flats crabs out there because you have crab claws and a corona in the bars there, the thing in the Florida Keys, and they go out and they harvest their crabs and they just take one claw. They'll throw the crab back with its other claw because they know it will still live. It's a permanently replenishable source. If it pulls up, it's only got one claw, that crab goes back. They don't take that. The UK, we would have just took the fucking lot and we would have just exhausted it until we'd gone. But I don't know. I mean, any method and any means where the government and the fisheries are doing their bit to help, I think is a positive. But I'm not naive enough to know that I think sometimes how far has it gone? Are we, in essence, pissing the wind with some things? Yeah. And I can't tell you yes and I can't tell you no. I mean...
No, I mean, you're looking... When you mention the Americans, it feels like we're in the dark ages compared to them. We
were checked every day. But you'd have fisheries come over to your boat. They knew us by our name.
Minimum and maximum size limits.
Every day, the same fisheries team would board our boat. They knew we had the tickets.
They knew fish as well.
Yeah, they knew we were all by board because we were guiding and we were going over there.
Still check.
Every day. They knew our names. They knew who we were. English boys over there. Still board us every single day.
When was the last time? I think it's a good thing. When was the last time you saw a fisheries come up alongside you?
I'll tell you, the last time I was checked was on a charter boat in the Thames Estuary about when the bass ban was just coming in.
Yeah.
The actual ban, and they were making a
presence.
Yes, we're here to check you. You're not allowed to take a bass. And that, how many years ago was that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Southern Ireland do it quite well. I mean, I don't know if he's still in a position, but when I was travelling over there with the magazines, because I did a lot for Total Sea Fishing, we would meet up with Michael Hennessy, who ran all the fisheries over there. He was also he was a fisheries officer. He ran all the squads that went out at night catching poachers. And they had teams. They had like a SWAT boat and all sorts out all in black.
We got nothing like that.
No, we have nothing, do we?
Nothing. No,
I mean, that's ribs kicking around in that big boat Viking Sentinel.
I mean, again, going back to what I do at times, I mean, I've left wrecks because I've got half a dozen pollock in my box and I just don't want to catch anymore. Some of them go back, some of them you can pop the bladder and they swim back down. Whether they survive, I just don't know.
Use those droppers now, don't they? Where they lip at them and then I'll intentionally let it go.
I've pierced their bladders many times and sent them back and they seem to swim off, but who knows?
Who knows, yeah.
The fact is that I get a few fish and I just think, and I've got a couple of elderly neighbours as well, I often give them fillets of the pollock that I catch. I'll literally stop fishing for them, you know? I think that I love eating fish as well. I mean, you know, if I catch two sizable bass, I'll take them. And, you know, there's so many like anti-bass brigade, you took a bass, you know. But I do believe there could be a maximum.
Yeah, so I can give a bit of input in that because we get that all the time.
Yeah.
I've got friends that will always take a bass or two within the size limits. And we see it all the time. How dare you? I personally, I may take one or two a year. I love fish. I love eating fish. It's just I like to return them. But I got mates that will take every one, and I will often, if I know that Dave wants a fish for the table and he's not catching, and I get a 50-cent beer. Dave, do you want this one?
There's nothing wrong with that, is there?
I'm not a catch-release Nazi.
No.
I mean, I release my fish. But I don't look at him when he knocks on the head and be like disgusted by it, where I see it all the time, people being belittled and alienated online because they have kept it. As long as it's within the regulations and rules of what they're doing, then let them get on with it.
The thing is, the stuff they're buying in the supermarket, sea bass, it's sea farmed in Turkey.
It's farmed.
Yeah,
it's farmed.
These little 40-centimetre shitters, there's nothing to them.
Yeah. There's no... The missus did sea bass for the girls last night, and the girls were whinging about it, and she's like, that's because Daddy didn't catch it and we haven't cooked it on the barbecue like we normally do it.
But my missus is Asian, and she knows how to cook fucking fish.
Yeah, man, yeah.
I was a rake before I met her, and so all she does is feed me. Sorry, go on.
But on the flip side, I've also learnt stuff through them taking it, because we catch a lot of bass in areas because we now know
what they're eating. Yeah, of course.
And we've changed tacks completely because... I know they're not eating anything like what we were fishing. We were catching a few. We swapped over to represent exactly what we know they're feeding on. fish tenfold through the roof, So there is a plus and minus. I don't get it again, but we can take that back to, and I don't want to keep going into negativity side. We can take that right back to the knobheads online that we were talking about previously.
Well, I mean, I as I say, I do take fish. I've got no reservations about the fish that I've taken in my life. I always take what I take. I make sure I eat. The only fish that I ever regret taking was the 8-pound gilthead. I knocked it on the head, and I wish I didn't. I don't know why.
You're gonna eat? Do you eat?
I ate it. Oh, they're beautiful fish to eat. I mean, I do. I don't. So I don't eat all of them that I catch. That's the thing. But this one, I was just so in the moment, excited, and this, and I tossed it up the bank, and I just kept it. And actually, with hindsight, and I thought it 100 times. I wish I didn't. I wish I didn't take it. Because actually, when it got to that size, it wasn't as good eating as, let's say, a 2.5 pounder. And I've sort of almost now given myself a cut-off point. So, if he's pushing sort of 3 to 4 pounds, then he's going back, If he's sort of, if he's too small, then he's going back. But if he's sort of, I've almost given myself a maximum, minimum sort of, anything around sort of £2 is fair game. I'll take a couple of those if I catch a couple, But the rest of them are going back, Yeah. But I regret that one fish. In all the fish that I've taken, I regret that one fish. And I like to think you see in a lot of my videos. I'm quite. I've come from your background, carp fishing.
Yeah.
I come
everything
from that.
Goes back.
Yeah. Well, not only does everything go back,
There's
but
care
you
when
care
you come out
for
the
it.
water.
You've got mats. I've done lots of barbel fishing. You'll see my photos the way I hold fish. I'm always supporting them and that because they've given you that satisfaction of catching.
Yeah.
You've been privileged enough to just be that one momentarily part of their life cycle, and the least you can do if you're not going to eat it, and it's not a bad thing if you're going to eat. You're not a monster, but is to let it go.
Yeah.
So I mean, getting back to when you're talking about tropical fishing and whatnot, and the Americas and that. I mean, I would like to see us. People would hate me for saying this, but I'd like to see us getting a little bit more minimum, maximum size.
Will it ever happen though?
No, it won't, because they've got this money.
You can't,
They're
and
not
also
gonna
you can't
police it,
tell
are
people. I see it all the time. If you say you all now need a rod license to sea fish, for every one angler that thinks, oh, that's a good idea, there'd be 20 that are like, fuck, I'm never paying for that. It's my God's right to do this.
I mean, personally, I'd happily pay for a license if it went in the right.
If there was a benefit to reasoning behind it.
If it's not just going into the government's pocket, I wouldn't mind it happening. If they were actually pushing it back into fishing.
That's the thing with the EA rod license. I don't think that money really makes a difference in what's going on. We've still got far too many polluted rivers and all the rest of it. I don't think it does
It's a drop
enough.
in the ocean, isn't it?
They're
so undermanned.
I always have, because obviously I do a fair bit of course fishing, so I always have a rod license, always have done. But I do get it. I do see it, and I do think sometimes. I know what bailiffs personally. But I get the heat.
I've got a rod license every year just in case, because I don't want to have to worry about. Now you can do it online.
Yeah.
I don't want to worry about it. I'll just grab the carp rods and disappear.
Yeah.
Maybe the once or twice a year I now do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to get rumbled.
Yeah.
I've also always got a Belgium license as well.
I just
in
think
case, I don't want to get caught over there. They take your rods off you over there.
I do get it.
They
I
don't
do
mess
get
about.
Yeah.
I believe they have the power to seize your gear here as well. Pounds. Obviously, they just don't because it's confrontation, really.
Well, they fine you. They'll take your details and it's a fine.
Yeah.
Well, in Belgium, they turn up in twos, armed, and they check everything. And if you're not legit, it all goes in the back of the van, and you ain't seeing that gear again.
Well,
I mean, I know for personally over here. I mean, I know him. One of the guys down here that's based in the Exeter area. There's only like 3 of them in the entire southwest of England.
What the NR? No, they're not NR. Environment Agency.
So
they used to call them NRA bailiffs, didn't they?
And it's a shame.
National Rivers Authority.
Or the National Rivers Authority. That's what they were.
But it's such a shame. It's such a shame that I get it. I do understand they are super stretched and you can't be everywhere. And what gets me the most is obviously people that moan, oh, we got poaching going on here. It's this, but they're a data-driven agency. So if you don't report these incidents in their little map, why would they send the tiny resources they have to arse end of nowhere to see nothing.
They used to turn up to diggers all the time.
They're data
There's certain areas where they go regularly,
They're
but like you say, it's probably because they're getting hits there.
That's it.
Well, they turned up to diggers because it was just off the side of the motorway and it was easy for him to get to. And one of the guys, it was on his way home because I remember I used to see him quite a lot. He's like, well, it's on my way to my house. And he goes, I keep catching people here with no rod licenses, so I just keep turning up here.
Well, fair enough, though. Why not?
But it's data
The amount of
driven.
times I was Sean Collins.
But the thing is, like I say, taking it to the sea fishing side of it, I think as a whole, I think most people would hit the roof, and they wouldn't do it anyway.
No,
because again, how do you police it? How would you police the anglers?
I don't think they can police this tuna recreational fishery.
No, well, it's sort of almost bleeding out of that to get you thinking about the whole spectrum of sea fishing, because how are they going to police that?
You get 10 miles off coast, off the shore.
Unless you're being,
are they going to be boarding boats all the time?
Unless you're being reported jealousy and they're definitely doing it. I mean, I think Joe Blogs Public. Well, we know it's been going on for a while.
But of course, at the end of the day, it's all about money, isn't it? And if it's not financially viable for them to be doing it, if they're not getting big enough fines,
I don't think they've even got the money to put into it in the first place.
No,
I don't think it's there.
No, which is crazy because when you look at fishing as a whole, I mean, back in the day, it was the biggest pastime in the country. But it's still up there with the biggest in the country.
They say in the world, it's the largest participation hobby in the world sport because you've got to take into account all these countries across the world where they fish to live. And if you take it as anglers, we are the largest participation.
There was a fact I read recently that there's more, and I don't know if this is gospel, but there's more money generated from recreational sea angling than there is from the inshore commercial fishing fleet.
Well, you can believe it. I can believe it. I know how much money I spend every month.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, there's 40 grand a year just sat here.
Yeah, but it's the knock-on effect. I mean, I know from my business, it's not just the end person buying that. It's the end person buys it, the tackle shop supplies it, but the tackle shop buys it from the manufacturer. The manufacturer buys the raw materials to build it, or they import stuff in. So it's a whole
huge industry.
It's, it's not just you're just
made
buying
in China. It gets shipped into this country. It then goes into one of the wholesalers who it's already boxed up in their stuff. Who then send it out to the retailers. The retailers then push it out to the customers. And they're whinging about prices like that. £9. I've been importing stuff from China. I know exactly how much these stuff costs now. And when you've got one of those a £10 slow jig sat there for a round number, that tackle shop's probably making £1.50.
Yeah.
The margins are tiny.
Game.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the time
it is a tough game.
Yeah, really.
And that's why it boils right back to what we spoke about earlier on about supporting the independent shops that are family run, not these big chain stores. Screw them. Support the independent shops.
Don't say that because I'm trying to tap labels for films to get on shelf.
But the truth is, and this is again goes back to what we started with, we're all intrinsically linked. All of the fishing brigade, the tackle shops, the tackle manufacturers, the small fryer, the YouTube,
it's one community.
We're all a community. It's funny how being one community, we could be so disjointed at times, and we're never.
Look at the big wide world out there. That should all just be one community, and it's all.
Yeah. People think that they have,
on a big scale, they're just invading other countries and dropping bombs all over the place. Within fishing, they just start throwing comments at each other.
Yeah, saying, why are you
don't
putting that
bombers
mark
yet?
up?
We will be in a minute.
How dare you? I wanted a fish there. There'll be a mob of people queuing up there. But yeah, there you go. So I mean, going back to. Right back to topic sort of about YouTube and videoing and things like that, and me doing YouTube, why I do it, I get a good kick out of it, to be honest. I really enjoy it. I enjoy the editing. I mean, it's almost like I'll sit there, go fishing for the day, film a semi-decent session, you almost getting like a double set of satisfaction.
Get to watch it back again.
Yeah, well, also, it's like almost like you're waiting until you get home to see what you've even filmed because it could be fucking shit. You might have had your arm in front of the camera the whole time. I mean, a couple of times I've had a blob of water or something on the lens and I'm thinking, oh, why, Will
you still put that out?
Yeah, so, I mean, it depends on the context of it, Like the last video I just dropped had a slight little smear on the lens and it was like for, I guess, a third of the day. I didn't even realise, and I'm thinking to myself, mental note, keep on wiping the lens, just, it's a learning process. I've got no background in. I've never been taught of anything professional at all in it. It's totally amateur. You know, and as professional as I'd like it to come across, it's a suck it and see game for me. Just learning as I go. You know,
you enjoy it though, and I
love it.
And like you
I
said,
actually enjoy it.
The
really
positive
do.
side of things, and I mean, look, I think that's the way to go. Is keep it positive. You enjoy the comments. You're helping others. You get the feedback, and that's ultimately.
And if people, I mean, just if people then. Just as an example, I got a message the other day from somebody saying, "Oh, could you help me out with a few spots in this area? Because when I take my daughter outside the breakwater, she gets seasick, and when it's this year, it's blowing hoolies every day of the week, as we know.
We've just done our one good bit of weather, haven't we?
Exactly. And he said, "Is there anywhere you could help me with? Maybe I could catch a ray in the Tamar and whatnot." And I literally got up my Navionics where my marks are on there, and I just circled my marks and said, "Look, I've caught them there, and there. Please have a go. This is how I've caught them in the past. There, why don't you have a look?" I'm completely approachable, but I'm also really want people to go and try it. What are the chances if you speak to me in private and say, "Oh, I love them taupe you were catching. Whereabouts did you get them?" If I tell you the area what I'm fishing, what are the chances of me going out there whenever I fancy doing a bit of taupe fishing in a blue moon and seeing you out there on your boat in that spot?
Yeah.
It's zero, isn't it?
There's probably still enough space for a couple of boats anyway.
Of course there is. Of course there is. Share the spoils.
So what's your like plan for the UK Fish Slayer platform?
So it's first and foremost, obviously, to build it. I want to build it to the point where it's maybe recognisable, sort of amongst because social media is king of the day at the end of the day. YouTube and Facebook. I want to get a big enough following that people are recognising the UK Fish Slayer. And the UK Fish Slayer is a bit of a funny name, but I literally just used it off of what the locals were calling me when I was catching gilters. They were calling me the Gilt Slayer, so I just sort of used that as a nice branding name to stick it up.
It's a good name.
Before it was just my name on YouTube, but now it's sort of the UK Fish Slayer. Of course, I would love it to have hundreds of thousands of viewers. I mean, so there's certain people that have got 350,000 subscribers. They're dropping a video and earning money from that video. Of course, I would love to do that, but that's I'm a realist. That isn't going to happen. Realistically, my plan to start with, getting back to it, I was thinking if I could get 1,000 people by 12-month period, I'd be happy, etc. And then over the space of 3 months, it's like 500. I'm thinking, fucking hell, it's doing really well.
It's got some legs to it. Well
it's
done.
Doing really well, and people are reaching out from left, right, and centre. People are
hard to get subscribers.
Yeah, a couple of guys have messaged me up and said, "Look, if you put an order through, we'll give you a few freebies," and that sort of thing, which obviously I would love to take advantage of. But again, it's not through financial gain. I just want to carry on doing what I'm doing, enjoy what I'm doing, include people around me that enjoy it as well. Some of my friends, family, if they want to be on camera, then then they're welcome to do so, and try to just expand it. There's no real end goal. I want to take over the world. I just want to see where it goes with it. To be honest.
Have you got any targets for this year, like species-wise?
I do. I mean, giltheads are heavy on my mind. I'd love to beat my personal best there, but it's a difficult one. We're just getting into the time now, so around Plymouth area. So again, bear in mind that I'm an outsider, so I've only been fishing these grounds for a couple of years, and I've literally sat there with Navionics indoors, and I've looked at marks and found, just through experience where I've fished in the past, I've picked up marks where I think certain species would be, and I've put it to the test, and I've gone out there and done it. I'm good, cheers. I've been out there and done it, and I've managed to find areas where I can catch taupe. And when I went back to the marina the first few times I was catching taupe, they were all like, "We don't catch taupe here." And I'm like, "Well, I've caught a few." And everyone's like, "Oh, I think you're catching spur dogs." And I'm like, "No, I know what a taupe is. I'm catching taupe." And they're like, "Yeah," I'm phone out. "Oh, you have caught taupe?" And I'm like, "Yeah." "Oh, we don't catch taupe," that sort of thing. So I'd love to get a couple of really good taupe from Plymouth. I'm sure they're here.
We had a £20 on Crusader.
Yeah, I'm talking like 40s and...
Years and years ago, I mean, I remember I think it was to do with the salmon netting. Donkeys years ago, it was the River Yelm entrance. They used to net the salmon across there, and the tope would go in and take the salmon out of nets. Back in the day, like it was known for big tope, you know.
Yeah, so there you go. I know that they catch coochies bream out on the reefs.
They look amazing, don't they?
Oh,
the
I've
boys
caught
down on the
smaller
leash have
ones.
been catching some amazing.
I've been
ones,
out with Kieran shark fishing. Top bloke,
nice lad,
young and enthusiastic. I love that.
Nice boat as well, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, so I've got a friend in Essex who runs a charter boat. Name's Mark Peters, Dawn Tide Charters 2.
Good shout out.
Yeah, he is the same. He's young. He's a young buck. He's enthusiastic, and I've been friends with him for years and going out with him for years. He's just we have to move over sometimes and let sort of slightly younger crew to come through because they've got the drive for it.
I think they've nailed it down there between like the Wild Seas brand, that on the charter boat.
Well, I've followed him because he goes out to Panama and that as well, doesn't he? I mean, some of the fishing escapades he's had out there, like doing guiding and that, unbelievable. It's dream fishing, you know. So they've got that enthusiasm for it, you know, that drive that I think sometimes the old time crew, skippers, I've been doing this for 50 years, no one can tell me what to do. They're just the same thing, paychecks or out, back in.
Same spots.
Whereas these young guys are hungry and they're looking at these new spots thinking, well, you know, I mean, but back to the coochies, I mean, they've got a few spots around there. Fucking some of the fish I've seen, they are phenomenal fish, aren't they? Them coochies.
Well, they would have had a new British record.
Yeah,
they pulled it up, and it was like well clear of what it was. They're gonna have to bang it on the head was the problem. And matey boy who caught it was like, no, I'm not interested in doing that. Put it back.
They're relatively rare, aren't they? I mean, apparently, and I don't know this, but apparently they used to catch them a lot from Plymouth. They were like, you know, high numbers from Plymouth back in the day.
Colours on them are amazing. They just look like awesome fish.
Unbelievable. I caught one in one of my videos, actually, just off the shore, like a smaller one. It was £1.4. That's the best I've caught so far. I've had a few. But just to hold it up in the light, the colours on it, you know, and obviously as they get bigger, they start to get all these mottled blues in them and that. Just amazing fish, amazing fighters also. Well worth targeting, you know. So yeah, they're definitely on the radar. Carrying on with the gilthead fishing, and then I've got friends coming down. I've got some shark gear as well, and I haven't done it yet, but I'm determined because I've done a fair bit of this fishing from Portland over the years, where you're out on the grounds catching tope and building that trout up, and then you're putting shark rods, one or two shark rods out the back and catching poor beagle sharks. And I'm sure that around Plymouth, I'm sure of it, the marks where I'm fishing, there's a good run of poor beagle sharks and they're worth targeting. It's just about sort of actually stopping fishing for the minute.
What you do and you go target them.
To actually put another sleeping rod out. And sometimes it's so hectic when you're getting bites and everything else, you just end up sidetracked. If I've swerved that one.
You're into a good day's fishing, you're like, I'll do that another day. I'm waiting for a bad day's fishing so I can get... you have to go out with an actual plan.
But catching a decent pot. I mean, they've obviously been caught when people are out shark fishing, but I don't think people looking sort of in and around the grounds, around the reefs and that, where in Portland, where they do things, you know, when you look at with experience around the country, how things work differently, I think that's one thing that's in my benefit, really, coming from the southeast. Obviously, we've fished completely different types of waters, you know, the Thames estuary, up tiding and this sort of stuff, but you get different vibes what certain fish are after. And then when you come to here, moving down to Devon, I've still got that in my mindset in the back Lockham, so you can draw on that experience sometimes.
Different mentality of how to take on a fishery.
Some
different ideas. You're not. Oh, what's the word? You haven't got the blinkers on into this is what we've got to do. You can look at the bigger picture.
Highlight the point, River Tamar, all going up to the bridge when I fished down there and I caught the cod and they didn't, you know? And I knew it was going to happen, but there you go, you know? Because the blinkers were on. Everybody says, oh, that's where the cod come from. You know, and I'm saying to people, even in the tackle shops and that before, and I'm saying I'm targeting this area a little bit, and they're like, oh, I think a few fish come through there, but I'm like, well, if you're catching them up there, then you must be catching them there.
They got to go that way.
They're getting their heads down. I've caught them there, so they are there, you know. But there you go. Anyway, so yeah, just carry on what I'm doing, trying to push the word out. I love the idea of people just getting involved with fishing. You know, it's kids nowadays are on their computers and whatever else. Get out, get fishing, you know, especially in this area where we are.
Very blessed. Yeah.
I mean, if you come from where I'm from and you find yourself here, you sit back. The amount of times I've just sat back, whether I'm going out on my boat or whether I'm at one of the beaches or what, and I've just thought, whoa, this is pay dirt here. I've struck gold here.
Yeah,
that's how I honestly feel. Mate. You know,
every time I come out of the dart and turn right across Dart Bay, that's how I feel.
Yeah,
you know, running across that bay, and even the run down to Salcombe and then down to Plymouth.
Yeah,
all of that coastline is just stunning.
Yeah. And you'll see things out to sea. You know, dolphins obviously a regular occurrence, but I've seen whales out there. Obviously the tuna. You know, I mean, the chance that you've got of stumbling across a feeding frenzy of tuna, and just to watch it, you feel like David Attenborough and the Blue Planet. You really do. You sort of, you're watching all these gannets diving in or what have you, and you sort of boom, boom, and you just think, fucking hell, wow. It's amazing, isn't it? You know, and it's actually, it's quite humbling, really. You know, you're out on your boat on your own, or you've got a pod of dolphins come up and they're always inquisitive, having a look at you, you know.
I've got some amazing footage of dolphins off the side of my boat.
Yeah.
When we were year before last, we're heading down to Plymouth to go fishing, and I'm hanging off, got my mate on the helm, and I've got Sean on the boat, he's on the helm, and I'm hanging off the front of the boat with just my phone, and this dolphin's just side on, just eyeballing me.
It's amazing.
I've got probably about 10 minutes of footage. They're coming in and out, playing in the wake. At one point, they were coming up along and they were like flicking the bloke like outside of the boat, like I'm guessing they're getting leeches off or whatever it is, like, just rubbing themselves against it. And one come in, I just put my hand down in the water, like touched it, got one. You know, it's just there's so many people that don't ever experience it.
Exactly that, and that when you're saying they sort of look at you, it's almost like they know. You know, I mean,
you're looking at them, they're looking at you. There's something
going
on there.
They're looking at you, aren't they? With that one eye, they're sort of like that. And I mean, I'm going to sound
thinking, what's that dickhead doing?
Yeah, look at that knob. But you know, I'm going to sound mad. But every time I see them when I'm out to sea on my own, I'm like, I'll call out to them. I'm like, oh, hello. You know, I can't help myself. It's like calling a dog over. You know, you see a dog and you're like, oh. You know, but that's it. You know, and as I say, I've been lucky enough a couple of times to see minke whales out there. You know, that sort of stuff. And if I'm sort of talking to everyday people who have no affiliation with fishing, and they just go, oh, what'd you do that for? And must be boring out there. And I'm just like, no. And then I'll start talking and say, well, I saw these, and they're just like, yeah. Really? What, we've got that out there? You know, they have no idea. Most normal, like everyday people.
I think that's the beauty of fishing, and something that the non-anglers just do not get why we like the fishing. And I think that's something that we can all be positive and be about, is the fact that we get to see some really cool stuff.
Big time.
And the stuff that you see on the TV and you think, oh, like you said, oh, that doesn't happen here. Yeah. But actually, when you're out first thing in the morning or last thing at night by the water, we get to see some cool stuff. And
really? Most of those people don't even see a sunrise.
No.
Let alone a sunset.
You know what I mean? And we've
you're running out to it as that sun's peeking up over the horizon.
Yeah.
You're already blasting at 25 knots.
It's so beautiful, isn't it?
So blessed, and I think moving forward, what's not to like? I mean,
no, absolutely. I mean, on my Facebook page, I reposted it a few years back. I was fishing in Minehead, the White Mark in Minehead, and there's like cliffs behind you. And I'm fishing away, and I heard a sort of a commotion going on in the air, in the sky. So I looked round, and there's a peregrine falcon.
Seen it, I've watched it. Yeah,
it literally took it literally took a pigeon out of the air, sort of flies it towards the ground, and then dumps it onto the ground as he's flying at high speed, and just smashes it to the ground, and then literally just lands on the ground. And I've managed to film it's crap footage because I'm far away and there's bricks in it, but you can see this peregrine falcon standing over a pigeon and plucking it, and he's plucking the thing and throwing the feathers away, and I'm just like sitting there on my own, nobody's for miles, middle of the, you know, I'm sure you've been to White Mark or you know White Mark, and I'm just sitting there like, bloody hell, unbelievable. It's just, that's just nature just showing you what, you know, a little glimpse of what there is there, you know.
Well,
I've got a pair of them living in one of my storage yards.
Falcons. Have you?
Yeah, they live right up on the rock face.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were down there the other day. Actually, they were making me and Sam were clearing some stuff out, and you could hear them. And the nest used to be on the rock face, but we've just done some work around the back of the containers. Now they're right up in the top of this tree. They're making a right old racket up there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's amazing though, isn't it?
They were living in the church tower where the old Euro angling was.
Yeah,
Oh, you went in the old,
Oh, no, yeah,
the other side of the road, there was a pair living in the church tower.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing. You walk out the shop, and they're just all of a sudden, like a pigeon head will come down on the floor.
Yeah.
And then,
Well, I mean, seeing wildlife, sorry to cut in, seeing wildlife, a story, I was in Thailand fishing, a massive dammed, like reservoir type thing. There were literally whole trees sunken under the water. It was like an immense, vast load of water. And we were sitting on this sort of hillside, and there was like a woods behind us. And I mean, they even get tigers and things like that out there. And I'm sort of always sort of half looking over my shoulder. And I'm fishing away. It was so hot, like 40 odd degrees, and I had to jump in
disgusting.
I had to jump in the reservoir a few times. I was like in, out. Well, anyway, I carried on. I'm fishing away, and I just heard this massive commotion through the woods. I'm like, what the hell? I look round, and bolting out of the woods is a wild boar. High speed, straight out the woods. I think something must have been chasing it. Just went boom, straight in the water like a fucking missile, straight into the drink. This great big boar sort of does a U-turn, sort of half swings back round and whizzes up along the bankside. I'm just like, bloody hell, you know?
Somebody was hunting that.
I reckon so. I was looking over my shoulder afterwards and getting ready to do the swim myself, you know?
You can smell man, he's coming in after you.
I'm probably more musky than that pig, you know? Definitely more tasty.
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, mate, I mean,
Yeah.
we wish you the best success with
Thank
YouTube.
you very much. It's been an absolute privilege to be on here.
Great
honestly.
chat. I've really enjoyed this one.
And I love your setup here. It's excellent. You know, so well done what you guys are doing. I will continue to watch, and I'll continue to spread the word as well from my angles.
Welcome back on anytime you want, mate.
Yeah.
Anytime you want.
Remember, if I ever get shirty with people and you start seeing me blanking comments, call me back on, slap me round the face, and stamp me with CUNT right on my hand.
No, we can do that for
Yeah.
you. But no, the reason why I reached out in the first place, I really enjoy your content. I think it comes across really well. I think, there's no like hype or bollocks or any of that sort of stuff behind it. It just comes across as a bloke that absolutely loves his fishing. I think this will as well. You can tell how much.
And I think that's what this podcast was about, wasn't it? Was about getting the characters that are within the fishing, and you certainly are a character within the fishing, and allowing people to hear a little bit more about these stories.
And
and
I said that, I was like, you've got your Mick Ward, your Dave Lewis's, these guys, but I was like, at the same time, the reason I stumbled across your stuff was I love watching fishing content, but I wanted to find the privateers like you, the guys that are just, maybe don't have the social media following or the YouTube following. Some of these guys that have been at it for 20, 30, 40 years, but the content is no less good. It's well worth watching. So that's why I messaged you. I was just like, I really enjoy this. Like, I want to get this bloke on and just see what he's all about, sort of thing. And
it's reciprocated. It's like when you say you guys are the same, singing from the same hymn sheet. I said to you on the phone when we very first spoke, it's the same. You can sense a bullshitter. You can sense somebody who's got, ulterior motives, or, I spoke to him on the phone. I felt totally comfortable, like I've known him for 20 years.
We've done a mini podcast on the phone.
I said to him, what do you want me to say there? And he's just like, we've just fucking done it, It's like, okay, I'll stop recording now and just play it back,
That's
shall
exactly what you said,
But you sense that, don't you? And I'm not a bad judge of people personally as a person. And it's that energy and that enthusiasm that you can feel from people,
Thank you.
Which
that's what we try to do. It's not. We're here to market a brand in indirectly. Well, not even. Would you say indirectly? It's not really indirectly.
It is.
We don't sit here going.
No.
Go and check out tunagear.co.uk where we have the best array of stingers, or spreader bars, or all those sorts of things. Or go and look at our latest content we might have done on YouTube. Well, we don't do any of those things.
Find us on www.tunagear.co.uk.
Yeah, that's it. It's tunagear.co.uk. Like, we don't do any of that sort of stuff. It is there. It was we came up with this idea. We've spoken about it before. We came up with the idea. I phoned up Danny. I told you the story, didn't I? I just said I wanted to interview him. He's getting all excited down the end of the phone. I was like, "You need to come and co-host this with me." Like, it's he got to bring in a whole bunch of good guests as well, which I probably wouldn't have been able to get my hands on to start with.
Yeah.
But he was like the excitement that he had about it, and then. Like, he just didn't shut my idea down straight away. I was like, I want to talk to like the carp anglers. I want to talk to this bloke, that bloke. It's like, this.
Well, as I said, I have seen you. That's why I bought the chocolates in. I was thinking, good cop, bad cop. What's it going to be? I've been in this situation before in my life, somewhere else.
Don't make a noise until the tape start, beep, and then they start speaking, don't they?
Well, mate, like I said, thanks again.
Thank you.
We'll definitely be following your journey. Yeah. I'm sure the guys, you're going to pick up a few more guys through this.
Well, I mean, you guys here will go from strength to strength, I'm sure, from this.
Hopefully.
It's slow burner. It's funny. My experience with YouTube, just sorry to keep cutting.
No.
YouTube is a beast of its own. I'll post up a video that I think's like really good, and it doesn't get many hits. Then I'll post up a video that's not so good, and it's 4,000 views like that. And I just think, what? I don't really quite get it,
We had this conversation the other day, didn't we? We were talking we're on the tuna side of things.
Yeah.
And I was like, we just need to give it time.
Yeah, it's slow. It's a slow burner.
Yeah. I'm trying to launch a tackle brand, which is hard enough to do anyway.
Yeah.
But then into a super niche side of a brand new fishery that we've got over here. Yeah. And like, you spend all this money, you spend all this time. Like when you walked in, you turned up early, and I come rocking in. I was supposed to be having a meeting with Aaron at 9 o'clock. I was tying I've got this new idea for this, somewhere between a bar and a splash chain sort of thing. I've half copied it from someone else. I can't claim originality, and I'm not going to. But I was in the workshop this morning tying it all. Next thing I get a message, and I was like, shit, right. And I've just got completely consumed with tying this new sort of bar up, and it's.
But you're predicting the future, where it's going to go. It's like you're slow
going to ICAST.
No,
that's why I'm going to the big trade show.
I mean, with your setup and this slow pitch jigging, it's looking at where the market is going to be. Tuna is going to be a big thing in the future. You're putting your name out and with a very professional setup. When people are watching and getting involved with that and getting more familiar with it, the brand they're going to think of when it comes to their tuna fishing?
Tuna Gear.
Tuna Gear.
Yeah. I think it's quite a good name, to be honest. I think it's
spot on.
I think it works well.
Spot on. I know I'm not in the market for tuna gear fishing, but when you get your license and you need a deckhand one day, I'll come and help you for a day. And you could be star of my YouTube video.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. That's not a problem at all.
But there you go.
Mate, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Honestly,
it's been a really good chat.
Thank you. Cheers.
Guys, thanks for listening. Go and listen to our go and check out our social medias. Go and smash some likes, some subscribes. What else do we want them to do, Aaron? We want them to go to the website, tunagear.co.uk.
Ben catches you on your spot, he will hoof you up the bank and then stab you, so be careful.
I'm a dangerous man.
That's why it's UK Fish Slayer. Slayer.
UK Angler Slayer.
Yeah, Slayer.
Nice one, guys.
Thanks very much. See you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers, bye.